Welcome to episode 212 of Comic Timing, a comics podcast devoted to the average comic book fan. From the average comic book fan, join in as Brent Casina and the usuals join me time after time here on Comic Timing. Yeah, it's been about 6 months. A lot of shit's happened. Kris is giving me the middle finger. Let's get going, shall we? Here now, Comic Timing. Hey there, folks. My name is Ian Levinstein, and welcome to episode 212 of Comic Timing. This show still exists. We swear to God, through the sheer force of will, this show still exists.
Yeah, Donovan and Brent's will.
Yeah, exactly.
Sheer force of Donovan, Morgan Grant, and Brent Casina.
Be like, hey guys, we got a lot of shit to talk about. Got a lot of shit. Yeah.
You know, me and Donovan should just kick Ian off as the final original co-host to get kicked off, and we'll just take over the show.
I mean, fair is fair to be.
Because we'll put out an episode every week at that point.
Oh, the reverse bachelor. Jesus.
We can pretend that Ian's there with AI.
He has the login. He can do whatever he wants. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
That's true.
As long as I'm told it's happening, I will not care. It's all gravy. It's all golden. We got a bunch of shit to talk about today. I'll introduce everybody who's not listening, who's not watching the video, who is just straight up listening. As mentioned, Donovan, Morgan Grant. Donovan, what's going on?
Yo, what's up? Glad to be here. Happy to see everybody.
Happy to see you too. And you're not sitting on a bed. Like this is a new occurrence.
So I think I may have said this in our super secret message thread, but like I've had this laptop since the start of 2020, and I thought that the webcam was broken. I just realized like last month that like all I had to do was flip the switch and it.
You had the lens cap on?
Yeah. I'm a smart boy. I was using my iPad the whole time. So
no more iPad shuffle.
Yeah, no, I know the entire time that's gotta annoy somebody. So like now it's sitting on my copy of Spider-Man: The Ultimate Guide, and is straight and not moving.
Nice. Job well done, sir. Hey, look, you're not the first person to fall for the lens cap trick when it comes to webcams. Trust me, I'm a professional.
It's barely a label. I didn't know what it did.
I know. Kris Noddet
Peel here.
Joining us as well. Kris, hello.
Hello. Yeah, I here I am in my new apartment. I actually set up the mic. I set up the webcam. I can't use my monitor because I don't know where the power cord for it is. Because I've been here 5 months and I still don't know half my shit is.
I was gonna say that's the same apartment you've been in for a long time. I thought
not that long, but
like a couple months. Yeah,
since December.
Exactly.
It looks like you're in the West Coast. You have so much sunlight behind you.
That's just the lighting.
Brent, it's 9 o'clock right now, guy. I'm sorry.
I know.
Yeah. It'd be 6 o'clock on the West Coast too, man. Like we're getting close to sunset there too. Just saying.
Yeah. I just understand how light works, Brent. I know it's hard when you have so much of it in Florida. You don't really understand the mechanics of it. You come to take it for granted.
For any of you just listening to this, Brent Casina has tilted his webcam to show us that he just has one ring light on top of him.
Well, I have the room light, I have the ring light, I have my lamp over there. Everything is on.
Green Lantern's light behind you.
Exactly. He's got
Lantern's light.
Happy. You want more light, Brent? Is that enough for you?
Give me more light.
I have floor lamp and I have ceiling light. That's what I have.
I was just watching the old stuff and I was like sitting on the couch and I'm like, man, I'm really dim. Why is that? And, oh yeah, there's no light on my face, so I moved it.
Oh shit. Yeah. And Brandon Christopher joining us as well for this episode. Brando, you're wearing a Phillies hat and I forgive you.
Well, it is May and it is baseball season, so yes, you will see me wear a Phillies hat.
Yeah, for a couple weeks there, I kept hearing that it was going to be May, and then it turned out to actually be May. So yes, indeed, we're smack dab in the middle of a baseball season.
Yeah, and I went to home opener weekend and they lost.
Yeah.
Both games I went to, they lost.
Yeah,
that was nice.
To talk baseball for 2 more seconds on a fully comic book podcast, if the New York Yankees were in the AL Central, we'd be in first place. Instead, we're in second to last. Baseball, ladies and gentlemen, baseball.
And that's you belong.
You know what? Just out of living on the East Coast, Ian. I mean, it's the same as like how European soccer teams are going to be way better than anything in North America, like winning the we want to make it like a big deal, but let's be honest. If like our team was in Europe, we'd be fucking slaughtered.
Yeah, that's about right. That's about right. You're not wrong about that. All right. Well, let's get things started here. Even though we haven't done this in a while, I feel like we should go most recent first, as when we record this about a day ago, the entire internet exploded with a leak that first started on either Reddit or 4chan. I don't even know where it was a really, really blurry image. Spoilers, by the way. We're going to spoil Amazing Spider-Man number 26, which hasn't even come out yet.
It comes out in 2 weeks from when we're recording this. So what, end of May?
Yes,
yeah.
Beginning of June?
End of May, yeah. The week of May 26th, if I'm remembering correctly. And at first, it was just a really blurry image that appeared to display Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel, for many years now over in Marvel Comics, dying in an issue of a comic book that isn't even her own, as part of Zeb Wells' Amazing Spider-Man run. Mind you, Zeb Wells writes the Marvels movie that's coming out later this year, I will add.
Well, that I did not know.
Yes.
That's in here.
Yeah, Zeb Wells is one of the writers on that. He was also one of the writers on She-Hulk, so he's definitely involved with the TV and movie side of things over at Marvel and Disney Plus and what have you. And Marvel is they're pulling their shit again, basically. Somebody at Marvel, perhaps it's Akira Yoshida, is dead set on the idea that
You gotta explain that joke for people like Jim who listen to this podcast.
You see, the editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics, C.B. Cebulski, at one point went by the name of Akira Yoshida in order to continue to get work at Marvel Comics. He is not a Japanese man. In fact, he is quite the opposite. That is the explanation that people like Jim need to understand what I'm saying there. You're welcome.
Happy Asian American Pacific Islander month, everybody.
Exactly. Yeah. Happy AAPI month. Marvel's dead. I don't understand it. I really don't. I haven't been understanding shit like this for a while now, because somebody decided a long time ago that shock comics are what sells over story. And it sucks, because I've been one of the supporters of this Amazing Spider-Man run.
Oh, why?
Because I've been enjoying it. That's why. Mind you, I am behind, and I haven't read dark web bullshit with
just stop. Just stop now.
I thought you liked Ben Reilly.
I liked him before he was a demon. But
I am Chasm.
I'm leaking energy out of my skull for no reason. Grah! Even though they just have him in like an off-color costume version of his original Spider-Man costume.
It's like black light Spider-Man colors.
God.
What, you don't all leak energy out of your heads?
It's Hot Topic Spider-Man.
I mean, not recently. I mean, I had to have it get like welded on properly in order to not like leak energy directly out of my ears on the regular. But apparently, that still happens to Ben Reilly every now and then.
Oh, well, also, pedantic me. Actually, you are leaking energy out of your head because you give off heat,
sweat
from your skull, and heat is energy.
Thanks, Stuyvesant. But.
Do you have to explain that for everyone who doesn't live in New York?
Look it up.
Get me a locker.
Exactly. What do you guys think about this whole Ms. Marvel situation? Happy AAPI month.
Let me channel Jamal.
Yeah,
it's a work.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
You're right. Actually, this is the most wrestling move that Marvel could be pulling right now.
It's got to be bullshit. I mean, we think it's bullshit because we're comics fans. We've seen people, die before. We have to believe that Marvel has to be smarter. Not like smart enough to not kill their major character that has a TV show who has a movie coming out when it's again Asian American Pacific Islander month, and there's also the fact that There's also the fact that, but the thing is, the creative team for the Fallen Friend includes Saladin Ahmed and G. Willow Wilson, and I can't see them being part of like completely erasing this character.
Yeah.
So it's a work. Like, I'm assuming something good hopefully will come out of it, but it's still, I don't know. It's still cheesy.
What people have suggested, and it probably is the case, and we won't know until it happens, is that, yeah, she'll be dead for a while, and then she'll be back from the dead with her Marvel Cinematic Universe set of powers as some sort of like crazy stupid explanation for it, because
it's gonna be the Purple Lantern.
Oh yeah, exactly. God, man, I don't know. Brent, thoughts, opinions? I mean, I know you hate bad deaths as much as anybody here.
As the only person married to a Asian American Pacific Islander, I could say this is very distasteful in my non-caring opinion about that particular subject.
Card to say that line.
He's been waiting to pull that card for like, I can't even tell you how long. I can tell.
I don't get to pull many cards. I'm going to use this one time. It doesn't mean anything. I'm just joshing you. Yeah. But no, I think it's a little weird. It's a little tasteless. Simply because Miss Marvel is the bastion of diversity, I guess you would say, for Marvel Comics. She's the masthead on their diverse initiatives all the time, because she's the one that caught fire. She's the only one that's kept her title since she came. Captain America, the Falcon, went back to being the Falcon, and now he's Captain America yet again while Steve Rogers is still alive, times two. Who else? Riri Williams, no longer Iron Man. She's just Ironheart in a different costume, different colors.
You could even go back in time from when Rhodey was Iron Man. I mean, that got reversed.
Yeah. So she's the only one that's kept the title that they gave her in terms of popularity, because of her popularity, because of the skill and the art. G. Willow Wilson, Adrian Alphone. I've read the first 2 or 3 arcs of that initial run, and they are good. They are really fun. So I did enjoy them. And as a character, I really enjoyed her in Champions when Mark Waid was writing that book. So I can see the benefit of having her around. Having a Muslim superhero helps. Having a Indian descent superhero helps. All sorts of things you don't normally see, and to have one that actually took hold of the public consciousness enough to get a freaking Marvel Disney Plus TV show after a number of years. I mean, you want to think about it. Like, I think she premiered after Blue Beetle, Jaime Reyes.
Yep.
And even though they're both like inheriting a mantle of a previous hero, she's the one that got to the screen first. She's on the Spidey and His Amazing Friends hero cartoon that my son loves. She's on there. I don't know if she was in
the Avengers
cartoons. She's in the Avengers game. Her and Jaime Reyes have kind of been running neck and neck of newest superhero who caught attention and or being put most. And I think Miss Marvel took that, by not a country mile, but more than a hair's breadth at least.
I would add Moon Girl to that list as well, because
she's got her own cartoon, and I watched that with the kids the other week. But I don't know that as much as Miss Marvel. Like, Moon Girl's kind of, I guess, newer. But anyway, my point is, I think it's distasteful because you have this new character that's caught fire. You're building something with her. You're building her into the Disney Plus show with the movie. And now we have a comic stunt to get people interested in Miss Marvel instead of actually giving her another book.
Yeah.
Because I don't think she has a current book, right? Instead of giving her a team that's interesting, giving her a storyline that's interesting, or making her, they could have said, hey, you know what? We want Miss Marvel at the forefront for her new movie. There's a new Avengers book coming out. Put her in the Avengers, just like in the video game, work that in. It could have been a mandate. And there's other ways to push that character that could have been more beneficial into elevating her profile than just giving her a major death storyline that's going to be forgotten about in a few years. I mean, look at the death of Captain America. We had Fallen Sun. And that is just wiped away, never again to be mentioned.
Yep.
So, except right now.
Yeah.
I actually think about it a lot, but I'm not going to say I'm the average user. But I actually did enjoy that whole period, even though we knew he was going to be back. I mean, there's a problem when my mom reads the Death of Captain America. She closes it. She goes, "He'll be back."
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that happens every single time a character whose name is not Uncle Ben dies at this point. Like when even, I mean, come on, this goes back years and years and years. When even Aunt May can come back from the dead, it was an actress. Like,
don't get me started. Get me started.
Like, come on, guys. Like, let's be real about this. Brandon, I want your thoughts in there too. Go ahead, holler.
I'll agree with Brent that it is absolutely tasteless. But what gets me is that this isn't even taking place in her book. It's taking place in ASM.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, the last 26 issues of ASM have been atrocious, unreadable, god awful.
Mm-hmm.
And it is like, I hate when they try to push status quo changes like this, and doing it this way is it just feels like they ran out of ideas, or they went with the first idea that they had of, hey, let's kill a character.
Yeah.
And that's not going to solve. That doesn't equate to sale.
And mind you, Kamala's been showing up. At least she's kind of been showing up in the Spider-Man books before this. Like she had an internship at Oscorp and has sort of been watching over I'm Better Now, I Swear, Norman Osborn in the book. So it's not like she just showed up for an issue and got knocked off. Like she's at least.
I don't remember her. I mean, I know that's her status quo.
She's been a minor character.
Character. I wouldn't even say supporting, because Mary Jane and Black Cat have shown up more than Miss Marvel has in the last 26 issues of that book.
Paul has more screen time than Kamala does.
I really am not positive whether she knows Peter Parker is Spider-Man and vice versa. That's kind of how minor she's been in the book. She's been in the book, but if you know who that is, then you know who that is. But it's not been it's not like Daredevil and Black Widow. It's it's the Spider-Man book, and she's just happens to be where's Waldo in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when it comes down to it, I completely agree with you, Brandon. Killing her off in a book that's not even her own. Honestly, it would even be one thing if it was an event book. If it was one of those major crossover titles.
Yeah.
Where literally everybody was showing up, and that it would do it. Because, I mean, let's go back to Crisis on Infinite Earths. Supergirl didn't die in her own book. She died in Crisis on Infinite Earths, but it was an event. It was a universe spanning thing for a character that many called the new Spider-Man. When she premiered, to now die in an Amazing Spider-Man book where the main through line has been, what did Peter Parker do? Not, is Ms. Marvel going to die? It just, I don't know. It's such a pivot, and it just feels unnecessary and forced. And I hope when I actually read the issue, I feel a little bit differently about it. But it just, I don't know. It just feels, like a mistake. It feels like
it just continues this trend of Marvel aping their own movies. I mean, at first it was only costumes. Mm-hmm. You would see a movie costume, and then you'd see the Marvel book reflected to ape that movie costume in the comics. Yeah. And I feel like Hawkeye wasn't one. I forget which one it was. Captain America definitely. Guardians definitely changed.
Go back to the X-Men. The back in the early 2000s, they were all of a sudden
black leather.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, that's been going on for a while, but that's mostly aesthetic changes. And here, I believe, all the reports on Bleeding Cool just hey, Miss Marvel has purple glowy powers on television. She's an Inhuman in the MCU, and we don't like Inhumans anymore. So, in the whole thing about the end credit scene of her, show, you're a mutant, being huh? Yeah, it makes sense with the whole Krakoan shit that they're gonna make now Miss Marvel not be an Inhuman, but rebirth her as a mutant, as some weird thing to make her align with the MCU, which the MCU is they still gave her the same powers, just in an energy form, because they didn't make her like Mr. Fantastic before Mr. Fantastic showed up. And it's hey, Kevin, If you didn't want to do that, then maybe you should have had the Fantastic Four show up first. And you did in Multiverse of Madness. Like, he's there. Yeah. Everybody knew who he was. Like, so I don't get it, honestly.
Well, and when it comes down to it too, it's also funny how times change, because you're talking about like the whole Inhuman thing, and let's think back to Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver in the comics, how they're no longer the kids of Magneto in comic lore because mutant, bad word. We know you as mutant because that's Fox. Oh, Fox is owned by Disney now? All of a sudden, yay, mutants. Woohoo! You know, it immediately changes that aspect very, very much. And it just feels like it's the going trend, and will continue to be the going trend at Marvel to just ape shit and then have to backtrack at some point. Go ahead, Kris.
Well, I mean, this is kind of different from everything we've just been discussing. Again, we're all pretty sure she's not dead, but it still seems like a bad move. But I had another theory last night that I wanted to bring up tonight. Was that I was thinking about the fact that that Disney, animation did an adaptation of Big Hero 6.
Yes.
And Big Hero 6 has been like barely in the comics, and now I don't know if it'll ever join the MCU as a proper property. And I had this like weird thought that what if they want to remove Kamala from the comics, from the mainstream comics, and shunt her off either to be just a TV movies character, or if they were thinking about creating something like the Ultimate Universe, but not in the sense of being more adult or being clean of continuity so much as something that's friendly. Because I could easily see Kamala and like Big Hero 6 and maybe some other heroes just like existing in their own version of the Marvel Universe.
Well, it's funny you mention that, because there's a whole event going on at Marvel about the Ultimate Universe coming back that is starting in, if not this month, then next month.
I think it's June.
Yeah, it's June. Ultimate Invasion, which is being spearheaded by Brian Hitch and Jonathan Hickman. And yeah, I mean, I think that, I mean, it's funny. It's just funny that you mentioned that, because I mean, like, are we going to get the Ultimate Universe back, and maybe instead of Miles Morales moving over to the Ultimate Universe this time around, maybe somehow Kamala gets involved? I don't know, but it's all cockamamie.
Or maybe Miles ends up in this like hypothetical kid-friendly universe that I'm imagining.
It's possible. It's certainly possible. I mean,
so do you know that just going to Miles real quick? Do you know that in the Spidey and His Amazing Friends cartoon, Miles's code name is Spin?
Are you serious? Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty lame.
I just watched this short with Noah last night, and he's always told me, because I'm like, that's Miles Morales, he's Spider-Man, because that's what we call him. And he's like, no, Dad, that's Spin. And I'm like, no, it's not. There's Spider-Man, and Ghost Spider. He's like, no, it's Spider-Man, Spin, and Ghost Spider. And I was like, okay, bro. And then I finally caught him. Somebody called him Spin last night, and I was like, oh, you weren't wrong, Noah. So yeah, it wouldn't be surprised me. Like, if they want to stick Miles back in the Ultimate Universe, fine, because then he can actually be Spider-Man and nobody will complain about it.
Yeah, but also
I will complain about it.
I feel like they went to such lengths to merge everything to begin with. I mean, yeah, that was also a Hickman story. You know, Secret War was a Hickman story.
Well, Miles Morales books were never better than when he wasn't part of the main MCU.
Yeah. Yeah, there were some of the Bendis stuff post being in the MCU was pretty good, and I'll also go to Saladin Ahmed's run on the title that I enjoyed for the most part, except for the whole Clone Saga weirdness again.
I mean, that was okay, but I feel like
every Spider-Man needs a Clone Saga, you know.
The video game got Miles right because they actually made Peter his mentor, and ever since Miles moved over to the main MCU, it's like, hey, here's an idea all the other writers in the universe have with the video games and stuff like that, or the fucking cartoon, and the MCU the comics just can't get their shit together to be like, hey, maybe these guys should be in the same book, like the fucking world's finest of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And have Peter actually be his mentor and interact with him, and that would give them both something to do rather than, rip apart this weird Mary Jane shit or kill Kamala Khan or whatever,
You mean what DC's doing right these days, which is actually remembering their legacy like they hadn't been for a decent amount of time, and now Marvel, which I felt like was on the right path for a decent amount of the last decade. I'm reading fewer and fewer Marvel stuff right now. Like I'm actually back on the DC bandwagon. I feel like it's like it is quite literally a roller coaster with me, because I feel like I get to the peak and then it falls, then a peak and then falls. Like whether or not I'm more Marvel, more DC, more Marvel, more DC when it comes to my reading. Right now, I'm way more DC. It's just it's more exciting and it's more fun outside of the X line in Marvel. And again, I'm behind on Amazing Spider-Man, but I was reading and enjoying that book, and She-Hulk are like my three standouts that I can turn to at Marvel that I continue to really love outside of miniseries that they've been putting out, like Defenders and stuff like that.
Can I get on the Spider-Man thing real quick?
Yeah,
I didn't comment. Because I'm gonna brag about my fandom, but he's my biggest character, and I'm not the Wells run has been real hot and cold, and as of last week the discussion was all about like Peter and Mary Jane. And depending on who you are, you can blame the fans about that, you can blame Marvel about that, but that's just like the bee's nest that they keep on poking. And so based on last issue, the real anticipation was, all right, can they justify this shit with next issue? Right. And as we've mentioned before, yeah, Kamala's been in the comic, but almost not really. And it's been mentioned before, but like her dying in Amazing Spider-Man, because she doesn't have a book right now, but like the fact that like the dedication issue, like Fallen Friend, is like surrounded by like the platonic Marvel heroes, like the Thing and Wolverine and Iron Man. Yeah. I mean, I said on the message thread, but like this is either a big swerve because it's obviously a bad idea, or they really don't know what they're doing. Because if you're going to release, I mean, I don't like deaths in comics anyway because they're immediately fake outs and like they're not meant to last. But if you're going to do this, she had her own books for years. Where's her family on that cover? Where's Miles and the other champions? Amadeus Cho, Cyclops. And if you do, I think the solicitation is like she was a great supporting character for Spider-Man. Whatever is like, okay, this is obviously like intentionally disrespectful as a swerve. Yeah, they're really, really floundering.
Yeah, to throw Fantastic Four on that cover, like they fucking care. Like, give me a break.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel as though I'm not confident that I don't know because at this point in 2023, they got to know the internet by now. That because I was arguing with Daryl earlier today that like people actually like Miss Marvel, but there's also a weird thing about why would they do that? And kind of shove away that goodwill in such a disrespectful way. Like literally have like the John Romita senior Marvel heroes mourning her death. Like Peter Parker doesn't really know who she is. Like, why is he crying? If that was Miles, that was maybe this is legitimate. But it feels like, I mean, I don't want Marvel to be this dumb, but I mean, they've done so much bullshit in the past that like why should we believe in them now?
Well, and I mean, they've had some good interactions. I will give that they've had some good interactions between each other in the past, Ms. Marvel and Spider-Man, but not enough to be like, it's going to matter that much that she's dying in his issue, like, because Spider-Man's everywhere. So of course, Spider-Man interacts with every single character. That's just the way that happens.
They pointed out that this is like the 50th anniversary, I believe, of Gwen Stacy's death. And I'm like, why does that need to be celebrated by killing another female character?
It does.
Much less celebrated at all. Like, yeah, it's a legendary storyline. It was 50 years ago. You don't need to put a fucking like anniversary issue of like, hey, here's where we killed a female character. Woo!
If you advertise this as like the biggest thing since Gwen Stacy's death, which implies at least the idea that this would be permanent. And one, no, it's not. But also like, really, you're going to snipe the chief Muslim superhero in commemoration of like when this girl got chucked off the roof. Like,
hey, look, Look, if you're going to celebrate Gwen Stacy being killed 50 years ago, I've got a refrigerator to sell you. But that's beside the point.
Why don't you do that when Into the Spider-Verse 2 comes out, where you see Gwen Stacy swinging around and actually celebrating that character? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like this is like oblivious on a level that like is hard to reconcile with.
And not only that, and the other thing I feel like they stepped in is this weird like negative culture that's like celebrating this death already, and I know it's only going to get worse. And I'm not one to be like, hey, don't do things out of fear of the. Let's not like I'm not advocating for let's not do this because it's going to get one group stirred up politically versus the other. Like if you have a good story to tell, fine. But by all accounts, this doesn't feel like a good story. You're handicapping a major representation superhero who a lot of people do like, that you were pushing for years and years and years. And then, oh, by the way, there's this really negative group, which we are not a part of, that, is celebrating this like it's some big fucking victory. When it was literally her and Blue Beetle, Jaime Reyes were the two characters in the last, 20 years that actually caught fire in terms of like continuing to appear in other media and have new books or, coming out. Like, name another new character from either company other than Jaime Reyes and Miss Marvel.
Miles. But like that's I think Miss Marvel is a bit of a different thing, because even though she's technically a legacy character, like it feels different because of like her background. But
but like I'm not counting Miles. Like Miles is a great example, but I'm not counting him here because he has that Spider-Man moniker. Like that's what I agree with, bigger than everything.
Yeah. And to go back to it, like, I mean, to go back to what Kris said earlier, the fact that, both G. Wilson and Saladin Ahmed are writing this, Fallen Sun, it's not called Fallen Sun, but it is Fallen Sun comic, that Ms. Marvel is going to be in, brings me at least a little bit of hope. But what they need to do is they have to actually stick the landing on this one way or the other. There's only two ways to do that, and that is her death is going to matter in the Marvel Universe, and that means you pull up Captain Marvel and she literally never comes back, but her death actually means something, and that's strike one. They're not going to do that, so let's go with two, and two is you're going to have to craft a damn good story to stick the landing on this one, to make it mean any lick of sense whatsoever. Because if not, then I am going to firmly believe that this is another Nick Spencer situation with Spider-Man, where there was a story that was going to be told, and then editorial came in and were like, that's not happening, dude. So you're going to have to pivot. And then he was like, I'm out. So he ended his shit way earlier than he was supposed to. And that was the end of that.
And also, flatly, like Zeb Wells, I like how he writes Peter Parker. Like I love how he writes Peter Parker's like voice and his actions. I'm not, which doesn't mean I love all of his ASM run, but like even with the best will in the world, he's not the guy to do this. Like if you're gonna kill off Kamala Khan, have Jill Willow Wilson do it. She's still around. She's still working. Like why would you have this goofy ass guy writing a Spider-Man story do this?
Also, the Rick and Morty guy. I'm like, really?
I mean, have you guys met Zeb Wells? Like, he's not the most. I mean, like, I'm not trying to insult him, but like, he's a pretty silly guy. Like he's not. I'm not expected to cry reading this.
I've also enjoyed his comic books a decent amount of time. I mean, he was one of the Brand New Day architects, and that for the most part was successful Spider-Man. I mean,
I really didn't like Brand New Day. That's somebody else.
I agree. Obviously, of course, takes or takes. You know what I mean? Like, I think that there was a decent amount of good stories that came out of that with the combo of Bob Gale, Dan Slott, Zeb Wells. Like, it was a brain trust type of situation. And you're gonna love it or you're gonna hate it. I happen to be on the side of liking it for the most part there, except for here and there. But whatever shit happens. He also wrote it, and memory serves. Didn't he also write the
New Warriors?
I was going to say he wrote the New Warriors like reality show take, which I actually really liked. Back in the day, it was weird, and then of course Civil War happened, and took it to 11, and then screwed up what was going on over there in every single way. But wasn't that bad a comic? I actually really enjoyed it.
I just want to end this conversation with this note.
Yeah.
And let's move to the next topic. It took DC 80 pages to make you care about the death of Ted Cord.
Mm-hmm.
And he was much less than a secondary character.
Yeah. I
don't know how Marvel's going to do it in 20 pages because DC needed 80 for it to make it matter.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brandon.
But all right, answer your first question, Brent. For the character, Jessica Cruz actually has also had a movie as well. Like Zeb Wells, I'll give him credit. He's been on some books that I've actually liked. I did like Italian's run as well for the early Krakoa stuff also. But it's just, I don't think, and especially after reading ASM now, I don't think he actually enjoys writing the book other than just being on it. If that makes sense.
I don't
It's a little presumptuous. That's a tough take to sell.
Right.
But I will mention
the way he's just perpetually shitting on Peter Parker's life, and I get that's the conceit of the character. The character is terrible shit happens to me. I got to deal with it because that's power responsibility. But it's just dogpile on the fucking rabbit now, and it's just not fun to read.
I was listening to a Word Balloon episode today, and they were talking to the guy who does John Sanchez was talking to the guy who does the Hall of Justice podcast, which I've never heard of. But he had a no offense to this guy, but they were talking about superhero media basically, and his basic thing was he doesn't like any of the Peter Parker in the movies, especially this new one. And it seems to be, and we're talking about this, and I'm linking it back to Peter Parker in the last 20 years. Everything has been, oh, it's my fault. Oh, it's my fault. Oh, it's my fault. Tom Holland, Peter Parker, great character. I love watching him as Peter Parker. However, he had a point that everything that happens to Spider-Man is his fault. He's not jumping in and saving anybody. Contrast that with the 90s Amazing Spider-Man show, where it's Spider-Man being Spider-Man, and he's jumping in, being heroic every single time something bad things happen to him, but not every villain interaction is his fault. Whereas everything on the movie side, with at least the last two, he was saying the Amazing Spider-Man franchise and the Tom Holland one, everything villain-wise is somehow Spider-Man's fault. He's got to take care of it. So it's not with great power comes great responsibility. It's with great power comes you're always at fault.
Yeah, that's the thing about Brand New Day that I just fundamentally disagree with, and I because the idea of Spider-Man is that his guilt complex has it to where everybody hates him, and it's a very simple thing. People like Peter Parker. Peter Parker has friends, but Peter Parker suffers because he is Spider-Man. Everyone here, I presume, has read the original ASM 50 where he quits. His life is fine, but villain shit happens. He has to be Spider-Man again. When he's Spider-Man, his Peter Parker life suffers because that pulls, he's being pulled at both ends. It's not because he's an innate loser, which I know Joe Quesada has explicitly said before. And I think that when you have a certain idea of him going in, and I don't know if Kamala's going to die because he's derping around or something like that. I don't think so.
I highly doubt that's happening, frankly, because
I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, and I mean, speculating too much on the how and the why behind it, when we are still 2 weeks out, unless they decide to release this comic early, which they're not going to, they're going to make you salivate for 2 weeks, and then they're going to release it. I'll wait until it's actually out to get the final conclusion on that, but I may very well be the strongest proponent for Zeb Wells on this very podcast when I say that I really hope that he is a good enough writer to at least somehow make this feel like it makes the slightest bit of sense in the comic itself, and that it wasn't just slapped in there by an editor, even if it was.
You better have to.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. Because even if it's a half good comic, I'll be happy because this shit just feels weird to begin with. But also, what happens in ASM 27 once you're said and done with this? Is it going to be all mopey all the time? Or is it going to actually be something, or are we just going to get next story arc and move on from there? Because, somebody's dying on Peter's watch again. There's going to be ramifications.
I can't get on board with if it's half good, I'll give it a pass. No, this better be damn good because what it's a bad idea.
Right.
It's a bad idea.
So, what you said about they're not going to release it early because they want us all to salivate. But the thing is, they could probably release it digitally early, and the print edition will probably still sell out because everybody loses their shit over these things.
Of course.
It's been 30 years and people still have that collector mentality.
Mm-hmm.
But now let's see, that has me wondering, when we talk about, oh no, there was this leak, and I'm like, what makes you think that wasn't intentional to make sure that people up the orders on this particular issue?
It was a leak and then an EW report that day. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, exactly. And mind you, blurry photo leak, which then the internet was like, well, this could be faked. And then EW's out with it. So either fastest turnaround ever, and this was meant to come out 2 weeks from now, and they just happen to have it in a can, which is how this works.
Ian, you know that. You worked at Engadget. You know how long it takes to turn shit around.
Exactly. Which is why, absolutely. This is an internal leak. There's no question about it.
That makes sense to me because I feel that if it was an actual leak, we would have seen how she dies rather than just the tantalizing image of her dead. Yeah. And they've been kind of hyping up as I won't have to go to any conventions anymore. I gotta stay up here and the same damn slot. Corny stuff.
Yeah.
So I feel that I've thought to myself too, maybe they're either this is a swerve, either this is such a bait and switch, or they're doing this to kind of manipulate fandom to kind of get ahead of a certain conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Internal leak with high res photos that day. Yeah. Fuck off, Marvel.
Well, they weren't high res at first. They were once the EW article came out, and that's no longer a leak. That's called a press release.
They were suspiciously fuzzy enough that it looked like it was too intentional.
Exactly. It could have been some dude went to a comic shop who somehow managed to get an early shipment and took a picture, but that ain't how that happened. It was straight up it had to have been somebody at Marvel setting this up.
Can we take a vote? How many people think it was intentional? I do. Everyone raise their hands.
Yeah, that's it. When the day started, I did not think that it was intentional. By the time the EW article came out, I thought it was intentional, and that's just plain and simple,
Yeah, all the Twitter, like the Ms. Marvel, Spider-Man, Marvel Entertainment Twitter profiles were all presenting it as news, hours, inside of 6 hours after the leak.
Yeah.
So last night, even Marvel had their own post that was fully fleshed out, had all the art and had all the solicitation information. And I'm just there's no way you're turning that around that quickly. So,
and also here's the thing: Diamond sends out books the week before, not even the week before. When Marvel releases on a Wednesday, they come out Sunday or Monday before they hit the stores.
Yeah, not
2 weeks now. They're still in print right now.
Absolutely. All right. Well,
just to finalize this, I'm looking on Amazing Spider-Man on my iPad where I purchased them via Comixology.
Yeah.
Because I'm not an illegal motherfucker. And it looks like she hasn't appeared in Amazing Spider-Man since before Dark Web.
Yeah, it's been 7 months.
Okay.
The last one before Dark Web starts is number 12.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm downloading that, paging through it, looking for Miss Marvel. And I do remember her having, didn't she have a Dark Web spinoff? Is that why?
Yes, she did.
Yeah, I believe that she fought in Dark Web, but I mean, I when they did King Chasm, I dropped that thing like it was hot. I was like, nope, no way.
I was wondering why is she getting a Dark Web tie-in? That makes no sense. But yeah, she had a Dark Web tie-in.
It was an X-Men Spider-Man story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't. She's not even in Amazing Spider-Man 12. So to say that Miss Marvel's a character in Amazing Spider-Man, she deserves to be killed off in the book she's in now. I would argue she's not in that book.
And
it's disingenuous.
It's also so weird too that I didn't even realize that Ms. Marvel hasn't had her own book in this long.
I didn't either. I thought that during the her show. Because I dropped the Saladina mid-run. It just didn't interest me as much as the G. Willow Wilson run. But I just remember the conversation online. Someone said, "Yeah, she does not have a book right now." It's really? They didn't relaunch it during her show?
No, they gave her looks like an unlimited series.
Yeah, they did. They gave her a limited series. I remember talking about it on a previous episode for CGS that she was back in at least that form. But I had thought at the time that was just another series. You know, that was another mini series going on at the same time.
That's weird to me because like they gave Shang-Chi and Iron Fist series, you know, with relatively lesser characters compared to Ms. Marvel, I would say. In terms of modern popularity, they had ongoings when their movies/shows came out. So like, why not relaunch an already popular character? I mean, sales for sales, I get it, but like, I was shocked when I realized that she's not had a comic book in 3 years.
Hey, if you put JRJR on a Ms. Marvel book, I bet it would sell.
Yeah. So
it depends on who's inking him.
I decided to go to Marvel.com because I wanted to find that like nice announcement that Marvel wrote up about Kamala's death.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting is that like I have to scroll down to find it, and it's like one day ago. And then it's already gotten buried by a ton of stories.
Yeah.
Like other stories. And what really sets off my alarm is that on the right side of the page is this thing called the hype box, which could be like algorithmic, could be done by like traffic or anything, but it doesn't say most popular. It's the hype box, which kind of indicates that it's curated. And the Kamala story is nowhere in here. And it's definitely been updated. They have the Eisner Awards, the premiere dates for Loki and Echo, the Daredevil story and the Ant-Man story, all stuff that was posted afterwards. So there's
tell us how this works, Donovan, Inside Man.
I actually don't work for Marvel. I work for the distinguished company Brand Eck. So
oh my god. Well, yeah, and mind you, there's supposed to be Daredevil news coming out as to who the new writer of that is supposed to be tomorrow, which they're going to be revealing on a Marvel podcast.
Oh, is Zdarsky done?
Zdarsky's run is ending with issue 14. There'll be a new Daredevil series launching in September. Rumors have been going around the internet because
Zeb Wells.
This is the internet that it's going to be Zeb Wells, but we're going to find out tomorrow who it actually is rather than the internet saying so. So we'll see one way or the other.
He runs next, guys.
Yeah.
Art by Frank Miller. Which is not on the topic.
Let's go to that. Let's go to that.
Unreadable.
That Wolverine cover, man. That Wolverine cover. Hot damn. And you know, I'm not even mad about it. Like, I'm not mad about the Wolverine Frank Miller cover because it's Frank Miller. It's
whatever.
Like, who cares? But the fact that there were people like trying to like, you know, shit on him for a cover, and I'm like, come on.
Well, I mean,
there
were people simultaneously shitting on him and trying to give him the world's best blowjob via Twitter at the same time, being like, "Look at this legend! Look at this mastery!" And it's like,
those people should be drowned.
Like, I feel like if he didn't have the triangle clause on that cover, it wouldn't have caused a stir as much as it did, because. Yeah. Like, Frank Miller's from that era where Wolverine's claws were circular and pointy at the end, like a claw, like your finger coming, like another side of your finger. And it wasn't until, I don't know, Jim Lee or something that they became blades coming out of your knuckles. Like, if you go back and look at the original John Byrne stuff, like, they're clearly rounded, you know? Yeah. Much less if you take the there it is on the screen. If you take the idea of it being a bone claw. Being covered in adamantium, yeah, it would be fucking circular. So, like, that's all that tells me is that, yeah, he's thinking that they're circular claws, and he's going to draw them in his weird angular Frank Miller style, and they turn out to be triangles.
I forgot that Frank Miller did that. Like, looking at this, and then I looked at like his Chris Claremont miniseries, classic Wolverine like cover with him, like, you know, beckoning the reader. For a few minutes, I genuinely forgot that he drew that older cover because, you know, he's been drawing like this since Sin City.
Yeah.
Well, this is there's Sin City, then there's Dark Knight 2.
Yeah, this is.
And then there's this.
Yeah,
then there's Holy Terror. Then there's this.
I mean, look, styles evolve. Like when you know, to the listener, we were actually talking about this online the other day, and you know, about how maybe, you know, because he's getting older or whatever. But at the same time, there are artists who are younger whose art styles have greatly changed. I think of Chris Bacalo. Like, I can't look at Chris Bacalo artwork because everybody's fingers are always like splayed out like this.
Or who does the Extreme X-Men?
LaRocca. Salvador LaRocca.
LaRocca's artwork is now unrecognizable.
Although, to be honest,
it's pretty recognizable.
It's still LaRocca, like, at the core. It started changing around his Iron Man run, but I think that there are some books that it really works well on, like the Darth Vader stuff. That was
dude. His run on Alien recently was good too.
Oh yeah. But it's clearly evolved and changed. Definitely, like you look at his X-Men stuff that he drew, like in like the early 2000s, and it's completely different because he wasn't photo referencing back then.
This is a topic that I don't think is like often brought up amongst comic fans, that like even all the greats age. And I always find it strange whenever like someone looks at like a classic legendary comic artist you're drawing at the end of their life and like, oh, that doesn't look as good. Yeah, because they're freaking old. I mean, like, God bless him, John Romita Sr. is well into his 90s. And like, I think every time they kind of beg him to do another cover, like Ramona Fradon did a cover for Superman or Action Comics the other day, and it looked good. It looked good, but it's, at the same time, I feel that like oftentimes, as Kris was saying, artists are held to a standard of like decades past, and like because Frank Miller was always an extreme because people were making fun of his artwork like years ago. I remember like the Master Race covers with Superman and Wonder Woman. Like,
well, that Master Race had he did all the mini comics in there too. So that's the most recent panel artwork he's done. And I think what stirs us up about Frank Miller is that the guy wrote and drew the fucking considered the best Batman comic book of all time. Whether you want to call that Batman Year One or Batman Dark Knight Returns, it can apply to both if you want. I know. It's technicality. Okay, I was going for Dark Knight Returns. I didn't want to leave Year One out there for those Year One guys who are like, oh my God, it's better than Dark Knight Returns, whatever. But I think what's disservicing Frank is that his artistic output has slowed down over the last 20 years, whereas you had some of those other greats that had a definite end to their career. Like there was a beginning, there was a middle, and there was an end. And then boom, they were done. And because they weren't legends like Frank, they didn't get asked to do covers or whatever that kept them in the public eye or kept them talking. Like Gene Colan, God rest his soul. I feel his stuff got scratchier, but I feel like when he was on CGS back when we were in college 15 fucking years ago, his stuff still looked good. It still looked like Gene Colan. And there wasn't the evolution. If you look at Joe Kubert's stuff before he died versus like his heyday, whatever you want to consider that, there's still like a stylistic evolution, but it's not that different. And Neil Adams has the same thing. So there is an evolution, but it's small and incremental. Like it's not everybody is like Stuart Immonen and Frank Miller, where their style goes from one end to the other, whether you like it or not. Well, Immonen's still here. He's still working, he's doing great. But I think Frank, he has the legend status. His style switched from a complete 180 from Daredevil to now, to Dark Knight, to Sin City, to now is going even further in one direction. And he's got that legend status, so it's keeping him in the public eye. So he's getting more scrutiny, and he's had health issues. Like, I was at the fucking Frank Miller signing here in Orlando in February. The guy clearly has he's gone through some shit. And there's some things he can and can't do physically. I'm not going to say what it is because that's his personal business. But I think it's taken a toll on his art. And people, whether you air that out or whatever, you need to respect that. I guess somebody's getting older. And if Marvel wanted him to do the cover because they know it's going to sell, they're gonna put it on there, whatever it is. And honestly, it's not the worst thing he's ever done.
Oh yeah, and plus, like, I'm looking at these other covers that he did because there's a whole series. There's a Comics Beat article that goes into it. It's a series of variants that he was clearly tasked with creating for Marvel. Mind you, number one, they're variants. They are not the main cover to these issues.
That Blade one is really good. I like that one.
What is going on with those swords, though?
I would agree.
Well, he's holding them. Got to be like this, I guess. Behind him, you can't see the bottle now, but it's there.
The Moon Knight, I think, is not bad.
I didn't see this one. This is phenomenal.
That's good also.
And frankly, even
thing looks just like same pose as Wolverine, but it's the thing, so it works better.
Yeah, but what I wanted to focus on specifically, I mean, going back to what you're saying about artists evolving and changing and what have you, it's like he's an artist. He's allowed. Like he is allowed to draw the way that he. And I've grown on this over the years. Trust me, because like there's artists that I hate and there's artists that I avoid because they're not my style. And me 10, 15 years ago would be like, well, they suck. And now today I'm a lot more like, well, it ain't my bag. And I move on and I don't get salty on it because frankly, they're making money and you move on from there. That's it. Marvel asked him to draw 5 covers in his style for today. They didn't ask him to go back in time and be 70s Frank Miller. If they want to do that, I'm sure they've got file artwork that was never used that they could easily slap on a cover. Instead, he drew
Michael Turner.
He's still drawing. And as you said, Brent, we don't know about his health or anything like that. And he's still managing to pull this shit out. That's actually dynamite for him.
I agree.
And I'm not a Frank Miller fan. Like, straight up, I'll admit it.
Yeah, I agree with the sector of the internet that thinks he just needs a different colorist. I don't know who colors his work now. But I like some of the fan recoloring, and I hate the whole hire fans movement, but some of the fan recoloring, I was like, you know what? Like a more pop art style might actually work for it. Mm-hmm. Like it's not up to Frank Miller to adapt to our expectations, but I feel like Marvel and DC could do him a lot better with how they treat his art.
Yes. And mind you, he has his own independent publishing imprint right now. So, it's not like Frank Miller's disappeared. He's got a whole bunch of shit going on right now over at the imprint. He's basically like I think Didio's
Frank Miller Presents, and it's co-run by Dan Didio.
Yep, and Didio's writing some stuff for it as well for FMP. He's got some of the Kuberts working on stuff for him over there as well. It's a pretty cool venture, and I'm at the point in my life where I'm just happy to see artists continuing to work, period. I don't have to like it. I'm just glad that they're still working. We've lost a lot of people in the business over the past couple of years that were either way younger than him or way older than him or his age. Just let the guy work. That's it.
You know, I don't know if I agree with you. Respectfully, of course, because I just objectively like 3 out of 4 of these covers, I don't think it's very good artwork. Mm-hmm. I agree with what you said that, or maybe it was Kris, that like Marvel and DC need to really reconsider how they use Frank Miller to sell books. Yeah. Because, and of course, he's the man's a writer. And I think, we've seen his artwork in different styles, as in like black and white and stuff. There's ways in which in certain contexts it can look much better. I feel that this kind of stuff is a very cynical. It's Frank Miller, it'll sell, and then people online will discourse over his style and his age and that kind of stuff. I feel that like this was not the best case scenario of employing a legend of his age and of his talents.
I'll give you that.
I don't know if I say it's cool because he's getting work, because I feel that like he's kind of being thrown a little bit of an internet bear trap.
Mm-hmm. And at the same time, if people don't buy these, then maybe they won't ask him to do more.
Which would not be bad, because I don't think it's very good content.
Well, but what I'm saying specifically here is that like they tried something here. If it doesn't work, then they ain't gonna do it again. Like that's it. And we could talk about that for Marvel. We talk about that DC. We talk about that Image. We can talk about that anybody, that they're gonna throw stuff out there, and if it doesn't stick, then so be it. We were just literally talking about that with the Ms. Marvel stuff. It very well looks like it's not going to stick, but they're still throwing it out there. This is a cover. This is a lot less of a big deal than it is a storyline. It's
not a new look. Yeah.
Exactly. So like that's why I can't get upset over this shit, because it's, the collectors are going to go out there and they're going to buy these variant covers and they're going to slab it and sell it as a 9.4 for $1,000. Like that's what they're going to try to do. Are people going to buy it? Probably not. But hey, that's what the collectors are out there trying to do. I read digital, so it doesn't matter for me nearly as much anymore. What were you to say, Brandon?
Look, it's just, yeah, I got it. I have nothing really to add other than it's just once these covers are going to sit in shelves for months. I'll tell you right now, because the younger people don't appreciate, there's a disconnect between the appreciation of like the amount of talent that Frank Miller has put into this industry and what they're getting out of it right now. So they don't really get it.
Yeah.
And these covers aren't for them, unfortunately.
Mhm.
And the people who shop at my stores now, maybe one or two are older, who are like been reading for decades. Most of them are like, 20, like early 20s,
Yeah.
around that age. They don't they who are now just reading for the first time. So I feel like this is kind of lost in them, unfortunately.
I mean, you're not wrong. And going back to it, like, if any of these younger kids were to, open up their Marvel Unlimited app and, look at like creators or what have you and find Frank Miller, they're going to find his Daredevil stuff. They're going to find they're going to find, all this Wolverine stuff, all the old stuff in a very, very different style. And maybe they'll appreciate that more than they appreciate this, or maybe they won't. But
I can say they will.
Nevertheless, they both exist. That's it. Like.
That they won't,
there's nothing we can do to stop it.
Yeah.
Funny story. One of my coworkers who works at my store doesn't like old art. And
Why?
They don't like old art.
Okay.
They don't like it. And this is very much old art. And I get what they're saying. Like, the coloring processes have come a long way. Lines look smoother. Lines look smoother now. Like, things look less scratchy and scritchy. But a lot of readers now mainly in it for the aesthetics of the actual book, not sometimes the heart that goes in.
That's fair. Yeah. That sucks, but it's fair. But that's also the industry,
Yeah.
I mean, hell, I'll look back on comics. I mean, all you need to do is look at early digital coloring from the early 90s and how bad it was to see just how far we've come digital coloring wise since then.
You're telling me that that Malibu Comics was in the forefront?
Well, they were in enough of a forefront for Marvel to buy them for the coloring process and not for the characters. that literally happened at one point in our industry. Let's go back on that.
Yeah, I want my prototype book. God damn it.
Yeah, man. Where's
my hard case?
Oh my god, I watched the opening to that awful animated.
I know.
Hey, I watched all those episodes of that, and I don't think it was just Ultra Force on the USA Network back in the day.
Wildcats.
Oh yeah,
Wildcats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was like the Sunday morning version was that, and some other weird cartoons. I think Darksiders or
they had the Street Fighter cartoon at one point. I know that.
Street Fighter, Darksiders, Savage Dragon, Wildcats,
Mortal Kombat.
Extreme
Mortal Kombat
G.I. Joe.
cartoon. Oh, that's so good.
Mortal Kombat, like it was like Outworld Realm something.
Don't you and Ghostbusters, Extreme Ghostbusters, that shit was my jam back in the day.
Oh, that show was good. I
show
have
was
fond
awesome.
memories of that show.
Yep. That's a next generation Ghostbusters that I honestly wish that they would go back to in one form or another.
No, yeah, I because that was done by the same guys who did like the Men in Black cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That Men in Black cartoon was awesome.
Oh, yeah. Yes, the Men in Black cartoon where the movies took place in their universe. Like the actual Men in Black movies took place.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
How does that work?
Yeah, that was their explanation as to why their continuity was different than the movies, because the movies quite literally were movies in their universe.
That was the greatest swerve of that series. I love
I did a
that.
rewatch of that show.
I don't remember that, but I love that show. And the Jackie Chan Adventures.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Jackie Chan Adventures was great. It kind of bugged me though that they kept pretending that the voice of Jackie was Jackie Chan, even though we all knew that was a lie.
Yeah, he spoke way too good English.
It was James C. I'm like, I know James C's voice.
Bad day, bad day, bad day.
It also didn't help that they would have the Jackie Chan bumpers at the end, and you're like,
Yeah,
it's really not Jackie Chan.
It's a completely different voice, guys.
I was confused when I was a kid.
I was like 13 when they came out. I'm like, even I knew, I'm like, this is different, guys.
Well, listen, Donovan. More than anything, talisman not important. All right, let's head over to some DC stuff since we've been talking Marvel for a decent amount of time here. Since the last time we talked, there were some DC movie announcements, to say the least. It'll be very James Gunn heavy from this point forward.
Gun.
Gun, 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 gun. And we'll also talk some Shazam too and some other shit in between there. Dawn of DC. Like, we're gonna try to get as much in as possible in this episode. But James Gunn is now the head of DC Comics movie division. I guess technically, what is it? DC Studios is what it's called, or is it DC Films?
It's not the DCU anymore, thank Christ. But it's like a DC. I think it's just DC Universe.
Okay. Yeah. Because, but yeah, the announcement came down a few weeks after they announced the whole, Henry Cavill thing. And then they were like, on second thought, maybe not. So clearly Henry Cavill's said and done with, yada, yada, yada. We know that. This is all old news at this point. I want to know what you guys think about Gunn's slate of movies that were announced a couple months back, and where we're heading, because it has since been announced that James Gunn will be not only writing but directing the Superman movie that's going to be coming out, sort of as the lead of this new universe. Even though there'll be like one or two things happening before that actually hits. What do we think as him as major domo of DC?
I think Brandon has his hand up first.
Brandon.
Yeah. So first off, he's actually the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery's DC Films.
Thank you.
And I honestly, I'm excited as fuck for this. Really, I like having someone who, like, we've been saying this for years. DC's real main problem was that they had no one as a head storyteller or a head general figurehead for
the guy that they did was a renegade madman.
Yeah, like to just give direction to their film, and having someone with Gunn's pedigree who actually has been on both sides of the camera, writing and directing, coming up from like doing really shitty budget films with Trauma to where he's at now. Like, this is probably the best thing that Warner Brothers could have done to gain some bit of trust back in their audience.
Yeah. No, you're right. Absolutely.
And like the actual slate of what he's doing looks, I'm surprised, like really fucking good too. Like, I'm surprised, like I didn't expect Creature Commandos, and we're gonna get that.
Authority, Brave and the Bold, Supergirl, like whole bunch of shit that I would have never expected to be on a slate.
Supergirl One Tomorrow, which was my book of the year last year, which has now been selling like fucking gangbusters, again, is going to be made into a movie. And that's like if you wanted to do Guardians via way of DC, that's how you do it.
Yeah. My favorite out of this entire slate is going to be Law and Order Lanterns, which should be interesting because
True Detective.
In the criminal justice system, Sinestro is especially heinous.
There are 7 colors. They're equal importance.
These are their stories. Bum bum. And Booster Gold getting a series out of this, like a Waller series, continuing the whole Suicide Squad angle of it. Paradise Lost, Swamp Thing. Like, there's a lot of shit going on. Of course, as memory serves, remember that there was once going to be a Cyborg movie?
No.
I really don't.
I remember the episode of Comic Timing where you guys went through all those scheduled things, and listening in my car, I was like, "Hey, never gonna happen."
We were promised a Green Lantern Corps movie at one point in time, and then it turned into a television show. And where is it now?
And now it's a grounded Green Lantern story set mostly on Earth, involving an alien threat or whatever.
I'm just gonna point to Green Lantern Earth 1 over here.
Yeah,
I'm just
Gabriel
happy that
Hardman.
It's not just Hal Jordan; it's Hal and John Stewart. Thank God.
Oh yeah,
Green Lantern Earth 1, Gabriel Hardman, Volume 1 and 2, fucking phenomenal. If they're anything like that, even though those don't take place on Earth, they take place in space. If they're anything like that, they'll be awesome.
Can I point out that we're finally getting a live action film Robin for the first time since?
How dare you have like Crystal Donnelly erasure?
Pregnant pause.
For the first time since Joel Schumacher. Hey, mind you, I just watched Joel Schumacher's God, what was it? Oh yeah, Cats. Not too long ago. Wait, no, I'm sorry. What was it? Cats? No, Phantom of the Opera. That's what it was. He was Phantom of the Opera. Yeah. No, sorry. I'm getting my Andrew Lloyd Webbers confused in my head because I watched them back to back, day by day.
Cats was Toby Hooper, if I remember correctly.
You're right. Yes, who also did Les Mis. Yeah. But Schumacher did Phantom of the Opera, and Phantom of the Opera felt like it could have been the spiritual successor to those Batman movies in some of the setup. Like, I actually didn't hate it. But
you're saying that Gerard Butler was actually not bad?
Yeah, he's actually not bad.
Hey, it gave us Emmy Rossum, which gave us Shameless, which I'm happy for.
Which gave us Bulma in Dragon Ball Evolution, baby.
No! No. Also, it's Tom Hooper. I'm going to correct myself so you don't get any actuallys.
Thank you very much.
Actually, it's Tom Hooper.
Yeah. But yeah, no, and the choice of it being Damian this time around. So we're just going straight up, father son, Batman and Robin, well, biological son, because he's got a whole bunch of adopted kids.
What I love about this is that like both Gunn and Peter Safran specifically said this is a spring point to introduce the Bat family.
Yes.
So there's no inference that like derpa Damian's the first Robin. It sounds like it's either going to be like the animated movie with Nightwing, or at minimum, because like they're probably going to do like the Dick and Damian dominant duo thing, but like, we could get Tim Drake, because I feel like it's really easy to like, if you're going to do this Bat family setting, then you can kind of like just shorthand, oh, well, okay, Damian's around, but like there's a whole host of other characters that he's compared negatively to, like it was in the comics. Yeah. And I thought that was actually a masterstroke, because when it seemed like the Matt Reeves movies were going to be like our linear Batman storyline, with the best will, I was like, how do you give me what I want, movie to movie to movie to movie? You really can't do it. Like Pattinson's at best going to be in 3 movies. So if you're going to have this setting of like, okay, well, this is the DC universe, this is our Batman, and this is our introduction Bat family by doing the Batman and Son Damian Wayne storyline, that's a great way to retroactively have these. Because I feel like it's almost a foregone conclusion that there's going to be more characters at least introduced through here, and then definitely for the future.
Oh, absolutely.
I just want Damian to look up at Bruce and be like, how long have you been Batman? 10 years. How many Robins have you had? You're the 4th. And be like,
I get a new Robin.
That work.
I get Stephanie Brown is like in the closet. I'm still here.
I get a new Robin every 1.5 years. Shut up.
I mean, they can do like the Caps, like in say 20 years.
Every time my laptop dies, I get a new Robin.
Hey guys, they're on lease. I can't use them things the entire amount. I have to trade them in.
You've heard of a blue screen of death. I have a red screen of death. Oh, oops. I'm sorry.
I think that the Batman and Son animated movie did a pretty solid job of us. Just like the scene of Damian in the cave looking at the Robin costume was pretty evocative.
Also, the Super Sons were.
I was going to say the Super Sons animated movie not only stylistically is phenomenal, but it was a really great film too.
That was good. Yeah, I like that.
Yep.
Something new.
But yeah, Superman Legacy is the title of the movie, set to be released on July 11th, 2025.
Hey, if you had asked me about Superman Legacy before seeing Guardians of the Galaxy, which I know we're going to get to,
yes,
I would have said, nope, not on board. No way. No, thank you. Spewing shit about sophomore humor. Look at Peacemaker. Look at Suicide Squad, which I like Peacemaker the most.
Yeah.
Out of everything he's done. But after seeing Guardians 3, hot damn, am I fucking excited for James Gunn Superman. I feel like he's going to get the emotion down. The stuff he's been saying on Twitter, although that's a separate conversation, like, dude, just shut up on Twitter.
Shut up. Keep going.
But he's saying the right things. He's posting the right things. And then you go watch Guardians of the Galaxy, and you have like Peter Quill's not a Superman analog by any stance, but like it's got things there that are Superman reminiscent. And then you've got shots in there and action sequences that are like, wow, this would be awesome in a Superman movie. Or wow, this like Adam Warlock flying through shit is like, wow, this I can't get more excited for a James Gunn Superman movie at this point than watching this at this second, going like, oh, I don't give a shit about this golden guy, but goddamn, if this was Superman, it'd be awesome, and Jamal would be so excited he'd be creaming his pants.
Well, what I look forward to, and we've said enough on this show that the Zack Snyder take on Superman was not for most of us, except for Brent, to listen to that classic episode. Good times, mwah, like fine wine. Brandon starts out on his side. Brandon winds up not on his side. But I'll never forget, man. That was good shit. That was good shit. All right,
go right in the back, baby.
Exactly.
The chair from off the top rope, baby.
Love it all. But what I'm just straight up looking forward to is just a brand new take on the character that is just a little bit more grounded. That's not the grounded character from JMS, thank God, but just, I don't know, more fun, more colorful, more hopeful, more character driven than what we got before. And you know, let's emphasis on color, by the way, because no more sepia tones, please, for the love of God. No more sepia tones.
Here's a challenge. Here's a challenge for everybody, because I was just thinking about this, that like it seems as though much of Man of Steel was not completely, but in some ways a reaction to Superman Returns. There's a whole like he didn't hit anybody kind of thing, and there's that, and it felt like so much of that was an overcorrection,
right? To
where like I'll be damned if Cavill Superman I literally smiled. Aside from the flying sequence. And in this one, there is, you know, there's suggestions, at least on the online fandom, that like Legacy will be a sort of not reaction, but like, you know, may comment on the Snyder Superman, which doesn't need any more comments on. Frankly, I mean, as much as I don't like it either, I feel that like the narrative is set in.
I don't even think it needs to be a quote unquote comment. It just has to be its own thing, which is good.
Well, I mean, I think that like we're going to have a comparatively traditional optimistic Superman. And I agree with Brent that like, you know, and this is kind of my thing with the whole DC Gun thing, is that like a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have liked it, because like it took me a long time to kind of get on board the Guardians movies, because like I'm not a fan of the sophomoric, like, you know, like cartoonish humor. But the more you watch a storytelling, especially with Guardians 3 and the Suicide Squad, James Gunn's into color. He is a genuine comic fan, and he knows how to do emotion and drama. He does. And he himself was like turned down Superman in the past because he didn't feel he was right with it. But he explained how he got on board with it. Mm-hmm. So this is just somebody who like just takes himself and the work seriously. Right. Stylistically, it may not be the right choice. I think that's perfectly fine because we live in a universe. But like, I think when it comes to like the essence, especially with both Superman and with DC Comics, I think we are genuinely in good hands, and I don't want you don't want to narrativize the whole James Gunn will save fandom kind of thing, because we'll get in trouble doing that. Oh. But at the same time, I'm still very excited, and I think that like there may be some misses. I'm not expecting them, but that's just the way that like the dice ends up.
But there's an actual vision finally. You know,
yeah, there's enthusiasm for it, and not just wouldn't it be cool if Superman and Batman hooked up, or Lois and Batman hooked up, or whatever it was. Like it is just an idea for like, let's establish the universe and why these characters are cool, rather than how much destruction they can do.
Brent spamming the chat of the Zoom, by the way, with pictures of Henry Cavill smiling, some of which were removal of mustache smiles, by the way. So just pointing that out. But what I want to say is that harping off of what you said there, Donovan, you made a really good point. Is that there might be some misses, and you know what? I'm actually okay with misses at this point, because not every single Marvel movie that came out has been a hit. You know, there have been some misses. There have been some so-so along with the good ones. I'm more of I like that movie for the most part, but it was also not great. But what I feel like now is that at least you have someone's vision, and no one seems to be fighting him along the way. Zack Snyder, for everything that he had, he tried to have a vision. It's just that I personally believe that DC never believed in that vision. And
Jeff Johns has talked about how like he was like talked down to during Man of Steel. Like
yes, he was. Yeah, no, definitely. But along those lines, you had Man of Steel with a very specific Zack Snyder tone. You had Batman v Superman with a very specific Zack Snyder tone. You had Wonder Woman with its own tone and personality, completely separate from that. You had, and then when you get to Aquaman, which is just ridiculous, Exactly. Like Octopus playing the drums. Like
that was fucking cinema, man.
True.
I enjoy the movie. I think it was way better than I thought it was going to be. But it's a lot of fun. It was the Mummy underwater. Like basically, that's what that entire movie was. Even though a lot of it took place in the desert too. So hey, it was the Mummy. Brendan Fraser mummy, by the way, not Tom Cruise mummy. Just need to point that out.
Cruise was great, also, by the way.
What was he really?
It was not at all. Terrible.
But there were a lot of competing tones going on there, and now it seems like at least that ship has been righted to a point where everybody seems to be on pretty much the same page, and we'll get some stuff moving forward. How we get to this and how the universe will reset itself, I guess we'll find out after that Flash movie comes out in June, which I'm unfortunately looking forward.
How are we feeling about that?
I hate it. I feel so conflicted because I want to hate it, but it looks so fucking good. And I'm like, well, don't make it look good, guys. Don't tell me it's like
they want to make money.
But
they don't care about your soul.
But here's the thing: we've all seen studio movies where they know they shouldn't release it and they'll just bury it. Well, this should have gotten buried. This really should have gotten buried.
But they literally cannot. You know that. It was impossible at this point.
There's so much word of mouth around this movie.
I know,
both good and bad. And I'm like, this should have been.
I've not heard a drop of bad around this movie.
I was gonna say, what's the bad?
Not bad. I mean, around the actor.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's about the actor. That's not about the film.
Right. No, but that's still.
To be fair to the film, and the people who worked on it, hold on, they filmed that shit before he went cuckoo. At least halfway. My presumption. That he finished filming The Flash mostly.
They were doing a lot of
had all that weird grooming shit, and then I think he probably went back for reshoots.
Yeah, there were reshoots and stuff, but the bulk of the film had been done at least 3 years ago, I think.
Yeah, and
all right, because that explains why the movie looks so fucking polished. Then,
yeah. But by the way, they, when referring to Ezra Miller, that's it doesn't matter. Yeah, well, no, but yeah, still, doesn't matter how much shit that they've done. That's what
they
hoist me on my own petard. I apologize.
I think they've gone back to maybe using he pronouns also. That's why.
Oh, really? Has that changed?
I think that changed a little bit. I think that I would in the news a couple weeks ago.
I'm just gonna roll with the words Ezra then. Ezra has had enough problems that for any other film, yes, they would have been able to bury it, but for what they want this film to be, it was impossible. The Batgirl film got buried because of this film, and I stick by that. I said that even when we were talking about it the last time around, that this got buried because Michael Keaton Batman was supposed to be appearing in that Batgirl movie, and The Flash got delayed yet again, and Batgirl was supposed to be coming out in December. Way too few people have been pointing that out, that they were going to premiere a Michael Keaton Batman.
That was going to be on HBO Max. They were going to delay that.
Doesn't matter.
If they were going to put it out ever, it would have been it would have had to have been after the Flash film. The problem was you had those 6 weeks of young Michael Keaton I don't know, was it young?
Young my ass. No, he was
young James Gordon in a, it was a James Gordon from Zack Snyderverse and a Michael Keaton Batman in the same fucking movie, which I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, it's not. That's not.
Yeah, I think that there's a genuine continuity problem, because I think now there's no Batgirl movie and this Flash movie had to reset everything. Because I think for a while, wasn't the idea that Keaton was going to be the universe's Batman, which is impossible.
That was the idea that was being floated around. It was never confirmed, but we sure believed it.
Well, was he supposed to appear in Aquaman too? But then they retry it with Affleck.
Who knows what's going to be in Aquaman 2?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Apparently, that movie's not very good either.
Yeah, but I'm sure.
I'm like, how? Because James Wan delivered a banger with Fast 7 and Aquaman. So how can Aquaman 2 be bad? You cannot tell me you take Mara out and that movie falls apart. It's got more Patrick Wilson, more hopefully more Black Manta. Gosh, that actor, what's his name? He was phenomenal. I don't even know what it's about, but
Yahya Mateen.
Yahya Abdul Mateen. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's got more of those two guys.
We don't know until we see it too.
Yeah, I don't know. Nobody's seen it, but the rumor mill is that Aquaman 2 is bad.
Are you telling me that the rumor mill has said something about a movie? What? That's madness.
There's a Geeks and Gamers as video is like Across the Spider-Verse fails already. Big loss for Sony. It's like, what time machine were you using? Like, this thing's not out yet.
What the hell?
God,
the movie that everybody likes and wants to see.
My favorite was their video on Guardians of the Galaxy being an absolute flop. I'm like, my God, it's been a week. It made 130 million.
It's the second highest grossing like movie of the year.
It also had, I think, the
best drop off.
Yeah, exactly. The second best drop off out of any of the Marvel movies.
Black Panther.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I think this is going to make some money. Quite frankly.
But it's woke.
It's made 750. It's on track to make $1 billion by the end of June. I think it's good, guys.
Yeah. I want to before we get too heavy into talking Guardians, because I know we're going to just any other thoughts you want to make on the slate, whether or not it's going to take Roland Roaster for Kris to see a Superman movie again like it did the last time, or like any other things you want to mention about the slate before we get into Shazam 2 and then Guardians.
Yeah, Shazam 2. I actually didn't see Shazam 2, but I don't care because whatever.
That's fine. You didn't miss.
Spoil it, please.
I enjoyed it.
It's a movie.
It is a movie.
Can I just say real quick about the whole slate thing?
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, I was going to say I had a really really fucking salient point too. Oh,
you got this.
I think the shape of the DCU will not be seen in Flashpoint, but in Blue Beetle actually.
Okay.
I think Blue Beetle actually is going to be the tone setter for this new universe. Mm-hmm. And from going by that trailer, it fucking was good, guys.
I thought it looked great. Yeah, I really thought it was great. Way better than I was expecting from the looks of that trailer. Like he doesn't look like a Beetleborg. That made me super happy.
Hey, you leave Smallville Blue Beetle alone, okay?
Dude, come on, man. That
was bad.
That shit was awful, Brandon. Come on.
You look at any of the Smallville costumes now, and you're just like, oh, that looks like.
It's like I like those. Oh my God.
Although actually the Hawkman costume actually wasn't that bad. Looking back at it now, that was halfway.
There wasn't a Smallville Hawkman.
Yes, there was. Michael Shanks. Yeah, Michael Shanks with a full body. Wait, because he
hold please.
Yeah, JSA. The JSA episode had a
actually the Dr. Fate one looked really good too.
Yes,
I remember Dr. Fate.
That's true.
And the Stargirl. I don't remember Hawkman.
Same episode.
Oh yeah, okay, I see it.
Yep.
Here we go. It's in the chat. Throw it up in the chat.
Oh yeah. Here we go.
That looks better than the Legends of Tomorrow Hawkman. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Good old Michael Shanks. Like, bringing in those Canadian Stargate alums as much as possible when you're filming in Canada.
Hey, you got to throw up the helmet picture, okay? You got to throw in the helmet and the wings for the full effect, because you're like, oh, it's Smallville.
I will get that. Hold on one second here. Let's see if I can find it. There we go. I got it. Okay. Boom.
He was also married. He married to Erica Durant. So yes, that's why they got him.
Yes, they did. Voila. Boom. There we go. Oh yeah. Yeah. Not bad.
Not too bad.
All right. Not too shabby. Even though he's kind of got like a Thundercats vibe with that red logo in the front. Although,
hey, it confuses me every time I see it.
I know. Ho! All right, Donovan, you don't have much to be spoiled about with Shazam 2, outside of the fact that Black Adam never happened. That's it. Okay, so Shazam 2. Did you know that the Wizard of Shazam was in the Black Adam movie, and he was also in the Shazam movie and Shazam 2, and yet he has no idea he was in the Black Adam movie.
And he got a makeover.
Yeah, complete makeover. Like
Dono, you're on mute.
It's
Jaimon Hatsu forgot that he was in those movies?
Yes, he did. Yeah, and he doesn't.
Morgan Freeman,
and he doesn't even remember who Star Lord is. Like that's the worst part about Digimon Hansu. Like
Who?
Who?
Ooh.
That man deserves better than what he's been doing.
And he knows it. And he voices. I was reading some article where Jaimon Hansu's like, "Fuck Hollywood, I need better roles."
True.
He's not wrong.
He's been complaining about that since the 90s because you remember he was in Amistad, right? Like he was
Amistad,
making a big deal. Everybody was like, "Oh my god, he's a new talent. This is going to be amazing." And then just nothing happened for him for like the next decade.
He was in Four Feathers. I remember seeing him in that. He was playing the same kind of character as Amistad, but he honestly he hasn't been given the opportunity to play anybody other than like an alien superhero or
he was a villain in Fast 7. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
He
Forgot
was?
about that.
Yeah.
Because The Rock killed him in the most improbable way.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the wrench?
I do not remember that at
So
all.
the rocket launcher. That's right. Yeah.
He was in the helicopter while Vin Diesel was battling Statham
With the wrench.
on a street fight.
Yeah.
Their wrench sword fight, and then like Vin Diesel says, "The streets always win," and like does like a Hulk smash.
Yeah,
on
that's right. Oh god, I remember that. He dropped the garage on him. Yes.
I remember that, but I don't remember Jaimon Hansu in that film.
Also, shit, I forgot that I gotta get my Fast X tickets. Anyway,
Yeah.
he's in Gran Turismo coming up. So I saw the trailer for that. It actually looks shockingly decent.
That looks hilarious.
I know, yeah. He's also supposedly going to be in Gladiator 2, Revenge of the Gladiator. And,
The Legend of Gladiator's Gold.
Electric Boogaloo.
Gladiator Boogaloo, even better. And Rebel Moon, he's in. These are the only upcoming things that I see for him. And A Quiet Place Day One, which I think is the Quiet Place prequel, if I remember correctly.
Ooh, fancy.
That John Krasinski
Place 4, the Return of Jafar.
A Quiet Place, one half, not so quiet. Only slightly quiet.
The loud place.
Yeah. Can I just say that Shazam 2, as Brandon really well put it, and Kris said as well, it sure was a movie. I'll tell you, it was like I went to the theaters, it was on the screen, stuff happened, it was a movie, baby.
Better or worse than Black Adam?
Worse.
No, are you for real? He's worse.
It's worse. Like it was bad. I was like looking at my phone.
Damn.
Oh, I loved it. I actually really enjoyed it.
I was not into it at all.
I
Wow.
And I loved the first film.
I liked it, but here's the thing. Like,
I saw the first one twice.
so did I.
it is so oddly different than the last one.
Yeah.
And that's because the first one was really fun, like really like endearing. And like this one is, they tried to be like endearing and try to mimic the same formula as the last one, but it just really oddly toned, and it's just like,
also it's a box office bomb.
Oh, it is, but I don't know if it's like, was it the acting itself, or was it the script? Was it like too busy? It's just like, it's just something about the movie where it's just off, and like I wanted to like it more. I thought it was fine, but like it's just like.
Well, I feel first off that Helen Mirren and it was Lucy Liu, right?
Yeah.
They phoned it in.
Oh yeah.
Like they go on their press tour. They're talking about how it's so important to see like female villains of color and all this. And yet they look so bored the entire time. I'm like, yeah, you get to wear the costumes, but yeah, you clearly are just there because statistically you're going to have to be in a superhero movie at some point. So, they took the money and ran, like they just phoned it in. And that turned me off with that movie. I was just like, the villains are so flat. The storytelling is flat. I thought the characters were still fun. Like when the kids are kids.
Oh yeah.
Like that's what
Megan Good still delivers the goods.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Like it really shone for me in that aspect at least. But talking about it being a bomb, I feel like it definitely got kind of buried or shelved by DC because like Black Adam was getting this push. Every single time I went to the movie theater, I was getting a trailer for Black Adam. Didn't matter what the movie was. Meanwhile, like when I mentioned the press tour with Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren, I didn't even know they were in the movie until I actually was sitting in the theater.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit.
I knew Helen Mirren was in it because I saw her in one of the trailers. I'd kind of completely forgotten that Lucy Liu was
But
in
like I said, unless I specifically was looking up the trailer online, which I guess I never did, I didn't know anything about this movie. Like, again, Black Adam was shoved down my throat, while this was just like, oh, it's coming out. Maybe I should go see it. Might as well. Like,
I think the problem with the Shazam 2 movie is like the first movie succeeded on the fact that it was him and the bond between Billy and Freddy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whether it was Kid Billy, or Shazam Billy. Here, fucking Asher Angel got the short end of the stick. Was barely in the movie because Zachary Levi had to be in the entire goddamn thing, whether he was written or made it that way. But like, there was no Kid Billy scenes barely whatsoever.
Oh yeah,
and they removed Freddie Freeman from that dynamic to create tension, even though that was really what made that first film work, and that's what put Jack Dylan Grazer on the map as an actor. So like, you remove that core tenet of the film, and I think that's where it falls apart. I think the other thing, if like that image that Ian just had up on the screen, is that image from the opening bridge scene, which was fun. But I think what doesn't work also is that this is a knock against also Jeff Johns and Gary Frank for making them all look the same. But like, for me, if this movie Shazam 2, like, he doesn't look like a leader of the group. Like, if you wanted everybody else to have that costume, awesome. But like, Shazam should have the collar or the hood or whatever the fuck you want to call it to differentiate him from everybody else, because everybody's stuff flows from him.
I was kind of hoping he was going to have the hood, to be honest with you, because like, I mean, to change the costumes the way they did, like, you might as well just like, jazz it up a little bit. And
I mean, like, you look at Mary here and you look at Darla's adult version, and they're different because one's wearing a skirt and one's not. But you look at the three men on here and they literally have the exact same costume except for colors. Yeah. And the leader of the group, to me, if he's the main character, should have some sort of differentiating factor, a la a hood or whatever, make it a bigger thing. So that didn't work for me. Yeah. I will say what I did like, and I did watch this actress's other film. The girl who plays Mary Marvel is in this movie called The Fall, which is very interesting and very good. I liked her in that. And I did like that they made her, like, she was the only one, since she was an adult and still had powers somehow, like, maintain her form. Because in the first movie, blink and you'll miss her, but she's a different character when she gets superpowers.
Yeah.
In this one, the actress is both. She's the only one that does that.
There's a reason why, actually.
Yeah, basically, like she. I mean, I wouldn't say that she demanded it, but they felt like it would be a good idea. And honestly, I didn't mind it. I think that she carried herself different enough when she was in Mary Marvel form than when she was just Mary, that I thought it worked just fine. Frankly, she didn't really need a secondary character. I think my major issue with this movie, outside of just the fact that, I don't know, like, it felt like it dragged at points. Like, Kris mentioned that she didn't know anything about this movie going into it. I feel like I saw this movie and I still don't know anything about this movie. It was forgettable. Like, it's the equivalent. I described it sort of like this on CGS, but I'm describing it even better here because I thought of it after the fact. This is the filler issue with 36 artists on 36 pages of content. Like, ooh, there were way too many cooks in the kitchen for this one, and you could tell because somebody told them they weren't allowed to do anything. And because of that, we got a movie where the wizard comes back, but how did he come back? And why did he come back? And was he always back? And they all have powers, and sad things are happening because they're poor, and he's turning 18 soon, so that's why people are sad. But also they're all superheroes, so they're happy. And the emotional core just didn't work for me for the entire film. Not to mention the fact that when you have Helen Mirren and you have Lucy Liu and you don't do anything with them, it just makes me sad inside. And their whole motivation as villains didn't make any damn sense to me. Even tying it into the first movie with, like, the snapping of the staff and what have you. like I thought it was going to go in better places and perhaps have, more of the, sins of the world involved or what have you. But it just, I don't know.
Should have been Mr. Mind and the Monsters Society of Evil.
Yes.
Because
Thank you.
Mr. Mind is one of the greatest villains in the entire comic book industry. He is so funny.
Oh, Donovan, I have something for you. As someone who did not see the movie, guess what? They dicked us off. They dicked us around with this one. They
didn't kill him off.
No.
I left before this last credits scene.
Au contraire, sir. Final credits scene. After the mid, you get to the end credits. Boom, you're there. And there's Savannah in jail, still in jail. And it's been, 2 years since the last movie?
What a waste of Mark Strong.
Yeah, and he's sitting there in his cell. And then Mr. Mind comes back. And he's like, I finally have all the keys to my amazing plan. Oh, wait, I need one more thing. And then he leaves, and then the movie ends.
Say what you will about Mark Strong. He was great as Sinestro. He was great as Savannah.
Yeah.
He brings it in the Kingsman movies. I enjoy him every time I see him. What was the movie he did with that guy who played Boris, the comedian guy? The Brothers Grimsby? Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. Oh, if you haven't seen The Brothers Grimsby, it's hilarious, and Mark Strong's great in it.
Yeah, and Ian, we've seen him on stage.
Yes, we did. We saw him quite literally on stage because he was on stage with us because we were sitting on that stage.
Was that A View from the Bridge?
The Bridge, yep, exactly. Yeah. No, that was an awesome experience.
Which I don't want to get too off track here, but yeah, View from the Bridge, also directed by Ivo Van Hove, who's directed the current production of Don Giovanni at the Metropolitan Opera. And if you're in New York, you should go see it because it's actually really amazing. Also, subtly gaslighting the audience because the set moves very, very slowly.
Nice.
I literally had a moment. I was like, I'm pretty sure that building faced us before, and now it seems to be facing. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's real anymore.
It's brilliant. I love it.
Oh my!
But I think Ian, you mentioned there are too many cooks in the kitchen. Them not having a real story or whatever. Now, unless I missed my guess, wasn't the fact that originally Black Adam's post-credit sequence was supposed to be the JSA recruiting Billy, and that would have led into this, which is a much more obviously interesting. And then The Rock said no.
Yeah,
and then this is what we got.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's why the mid-credit scene for this was that, essentially. It was the JSA, recruiting Captain Marvel, Shazam into...
No, he's the captain now. I am the captain now.
The captain, exactly.
Who showed up? Who from the JSA showed up?
No, it wasn't actual members of the JSA. It was members of Lawler's team. So the ones that showed up in
Gunn's wife and Okonomos from Peacemaker.
Yeah. Which mind you, this was all filmed before James Gunn was in the driver's seat. So this was just stuff that they decided to go forward with to try to.
But God damn it, she's in Guardians 3 too. Like, this girl's everywhere.
Well, yes, she is.
God.
But so everybody James Gunn has ever worked with is in Guardians 3.
Okay,
yeah. Taking a look at Nathan. What's that guy's name?
We'll get there, Nathan.
We'll get there.
But just to wrap this in a bow for you, Donovan. Yeah, they recruit him into the JSA in that mid-credits scene, and we all know it ain't going to go nowhere. So that's that. Unfortunately,
it's got the worst DCU cameo at the end with the most lame ending ever.
You mean okay?
That was fucking lame.
Kris, what did you think about the Wonder Woman cameo in the movie?
Cringe.
Yeah, exactly.
I honestly I liked having her come in and have this joke, and even the parents making the joke what's with our sons and older women, that kind of stuff was funny. Mm-hmm. It was just I don't know. First of all, I never believed he was really dead.
Yeah,
and it was just this is dumb.
Lasted 8
and
seconds.
Just magic, and it was just cheesy. I would have preferred her just showing up for some other reason, entirely, literally any other reason. She could have made out with Freddy, and it would have been a better ending.
A comedy, for God's sake. She could have been doing anything else.
They pulled a Marvel with Amazing Spider-Man, and they fucking put that thing in the trailer a week before the movie comes out. They're like, please see this movie. Please see this movie. I'm like, no. I went, but
I missed that trailer, and I'm glad I did because most of it was a surprise for me. But I would have much preferred Nicole Kidman come and save him with the power of movies. That would have been awesome. Heartbreak feels good in a place like this. But what I didn't like about the Wonder Woman stuff is that you could tell it was filmed somewhere else. And we know
it just looked bad. Yeah.
You know, the director remote directed that scene. It was filmed in Pinewood in London, and he wasn't there for it because that's where Gal Gadot happened to be at the time. So they set it up in Pinewood. They filmed that part of the scene, and they inserted it into the movie.
Yeah, like you could think of a better ending of that film just being like, well, this movie's a fucking Fast and Furious, which references in front of Helen Mirren, which they ruined in the trailer, which would have got a bigger ha-ha if they hadn't put it in every fucking trailer. But like, this movie's about family, and if you had all the kids kneel down around his grave and like put their heads together, and the love from them built the magic up and brought him back to life, it would have been more memorable and more meaningful in terms of the film and less cringe, and it would have been a better ending than Wonder Woman showing up and be like, oh, here's my magic from the gods, and oh, are we gonna make out? No, we're not. And it seems clear that Gal Gadot cannot act.
Or better yet, do a callback. Hey guys, hands in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right there. It was right freaking there.
Yeah. Or even better, mid-credits scene, Helen Mirren shows up as Helen Mirren. And we find out that this entire time, the goddess has been Helen Mirren. And that they're the same person. And she's going to the set for the next Fast and the Furious movie. That would have been a great
one of Vin Diesel will show up and be like, all right, thanks.
Exactly.
Oh, by the way, also
the streets always win.
Guess who's back in Fast and Furious? Guess who's back?
Yeah. Don't spoil that. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I know.
Neither have I. But I'm like, okay. I'm like, really, guys?
Yeah, I don't want to say anything about it. I don't want to say anything about it. Honestly,
yeah. Like I said with Marvel, it's a work.
Exactly. I know it's happened already, but there's enough people out there who may not have heard it, who will actually be surprised at the end credit scene of Fast X. So I don't want to give that away. But
Fast X Part 1. Fast X Part 1.
Yes, it might be a 3-parter, by the way.
Oh God.
What were you to say, Donna?
No, I was like thinking like, oh yeah, when does that movie come out? Tomorrow, right?
Yeah,
this weekend.
We're recording this on a Wednesday. It comes out in theaters Thursday night.
Ooh, I want to check that. Check
my family.
Yeah, I should go buy my tickets.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. Well, see, well, episode's over.
I'll go buy a ticket. We'll time it out and go see it at the same time.
We have one more thing that we need to discuss on this episode, even though we have 8 more things to discuss on this episode.
A good movie.
And yeah, let's pivot over to a more recent thing, because Ant-Man happened and we ain't talking about that.
Oh, come on.
All right, fine.
One word reviews and go.
Yeah, one word review.
No.
I liked it. I didn't love it. I enjoyed it.
I liked it better on the second viewing, actually.
Okay.
Well, the thing is, like, a lot of the criticism of the movie, and this is well earned, is that it just looks so manufactured and so fake because it was done on that soundstage.
Yeah.
I didn't really care about that much. I did find the sheer amount of exposition, which was called out by some of the critics, it just killed me. Like, Michelle Pfeiffer is a fine actress, and she's just rattling off all this technobabble, and it just made me so angry. On the reverse side, like, when I say it's better on a rewatch, is like, it's heartfelt, like the actual relationships between the characters. You know, when Scott's like, I have to go save my family, and he means not just his kid and his girlfriend, but his girlfriend's parents. Or the part like, you read my book, and Hank's like, every damn word of it. And I'm like, that's actually really sweet, because that book sounds fucking terrible.
Oh, absolutely. It's
which you can buy if you want.
Yeah.
Is it finally out?
I think if it's not out now, then it's going to be out very soon, and I want to read the audiobook version of that, because it's obviously going to be read by Paul Rudd, and I can't wait for that. But no, I had a good time. It just looked muddy, like, and we know that's because that Marvel treats their CG people like crap. Like, that's just plain and simple. Like, a lot of the special effects guys are rushing to make this crap happen, and this was definitely a sad example of that, especially since we know that they diverted people over to Wakanda Forever, and this movie suffered because of it, because there were
two movies that came out. There was Black Adam, and there was Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Yes,
Quantumania had a bigger budget, but Black Adam had the better CGI.
That's sad.
Black Adam it looked good. I think generally speaking.
I hate to say it because that scene where the JSA ship comes in looked really fucking, and even Hawkman looked really good.
Oh yeah, Hawkman looked great. I don't disagree.
I want more Aldous Hodge Hawkman because of that movie.
Cyclone was still the best part about that movie with Cyclone. The scene when she's throwing things around, and they're all like, I get it. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
but
for a character I never understood in the Justice Society book, that movie made me understand it.
No, go ahead, Donald.
Sorry. My short review is that I thought I liked it when I watched it. Honestly, you're talking about CGI. Every time I look at that shitty grin on MODOK, I get angry.
MODOK was the worst part.
That was
all
the worst.
Things you had to get right.
I had
MODOK
so
was
fun
the
with
one.
MODOK. I had so much fun with MODOK.
This is not a transition. This is just a comparison example. Adam Warlock, there was humor to him. He was not a joke character, but he was definitely play with humor. MODOK was a joke character.
Look,
MODOK was another cynical example of we can outthink the source material and let's shove in this really fake character development about not being a dick and try to make the audience laugh and call ourselves a movie. That's kind of emblematic of the whole thing. I'm
just glad that MODOK died in Avenger. Okay, look, that's
shut up. They made such a big deal out of Scott, you're an Avenger. You work with the Avengers. It's like they were trying to have the audience care about Scott Lang in a way which they didn't feel the movies themselves earned. Mm-hmm. It's all right. It's not the worst. It's not more Thor: Love and Thunder, but it really wasn't very strong.
I like Love and Thunder better. Anyway,
I liked it, I didn't love it, and I'm glad I saw it because I was able to shut my brain off for 2 hours after work and watch it. But still, just a lot of brown.
And I enjoyed Kang a lot, and I'm super glad that absolutely nothing has happened that would change the fact that we're going to get Kang in future movies exactly the way that he was. So that's
we were rooting for you, man. I don't even like Jonathan Majors that much, but I do admit he's a great actor, and this bullshit with the charges just. And I say the bullshit on his part because something's going to stick. We could assume that maybe somebody's lying or whatever, but there's enough accusations at this point. I'm like, no, this guy's probably an asshole.
Yeah, I was really, really waiting for the story to come out because, the internet likes to, virtue signal and stuff. That's well, let's see how it comes out. When not only the accusations, but also when his management dropped him, I was like, okay, when there's smoke, there's fire for sure.
Not to mention that the text messages that came out that were supposed to support him kind of didn't exactly do that.
That was fucked up.
Yeah, I don't know.
All I want to say is this movie was not only a waste of Kang, because it didn't set him up as the big bad of whatever the multiverse saga is. Whatever happens to Jonathan Majors, whatever. He's a great talent. Unfortunately, he might be an asshole.
Yes.
But the biggest crime this movie committed is that it put William Jackson Harper in that shitty fucking role.
Should be Reed Richards
translator, which I was just gonna say, if you wanted to make the Richards family black, that guy should be Reed Richards.
I
would fully support it.
I'm seeing him on Broadway in a play in June.
And if you don't know who we're talking about Chidi from The Good Place.
Yes, indeed, and he is a great actor, and I do agree that he deserved a lot better than he got in this movie.
I think when it comes to good act, like I said with Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu, is there are people who don't really want to be in a Marvel or DC movie, but again, they know that it is such a big industry, they have to do something. So this is their way of just getting it out of the way.
I'm hoping he can Emma Chan this shit and level up to a bigger character in a future film.
Seriously, right?
Hey, look, in the movie that we're about to discuss, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, there are multiple actresses that are playing their second Marvel role in the movie, even if it's just in a suit or voice.
Michelle Yeoh, though. Not Michelle Yeoh, though.
Not Michelle Yeoh, that's true. But Linda Cardellini and Judy Greer are both in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 as and they've previously played Hawkeye's wife and Scott Lang's ex-wife in the Marvel Cinematic. So that's
okay.
Yep. So anything can happen. Anything can happen if you dream big enough. Anything can happen.
It's like Peter Capaldi in Doctor Who.
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh,
Well,
yeah.
that's happened to a bunch of the Doctors actually, where they showed up as a bit character in an episode and then wound up being cast as the Doctor later on.
Colin Baker, yeah.
Yep, indeed. Yep. All right, let's do it. Guardians. Talk about the good CGI movie that Marvel has put out more recently that actually had colors and believable special effects and what I feel like was an awesome villain and stretched the idea of PG-13 to what it should be.
I don't think there's any problems or flaws or cons with this movie.
No notes at all. Honestly,
I don't know if it's an all-time classic, but it's like pretty fucking flawless.
I think it could have been shorter, to be honest. I'm getting really tired of movies being almost 3 hours at this point. I mean, even the new Spider-Verse movie is apparently the longest Western animated movie ever made.
I heard that. But I didn't feel it in Guardians 3. I didn't feel it.
Yeah. And mind you, I will point out that that Across the Spider-Verse, in being the longest, I think
it's also part 1.
It's 2 hours and 16 minutes. So like it's not like that's even that much. I think
they need to explain Ben Reilly's Clone Saga Spider backstory.
Exactly.
You got to introduce all these Spider-Mans with a 30-second intro.
Right. And then a full 95 minutes on Ben Reilly.
I love the Ben Reilly poster. I mean, I'm sorry for derailing, but like that poster is so sick.
Do you think Ben Reilly is Seth Rogen?
Oh, so good. That would be good.
Oh,
good.
Yes.
Have you no sense of loyalty?
Here's the thing. Like,
I mean, I guess if the guy from
no. You know who it has to be?
If playing Peter B. Parker, Seth Rogen could be Ben Reilly.
Ben Reilly should be Max Greenfield.
Oh.
I don't know who that is.
Damon. No, it's all New Girl riffs.
Yeah, all New Girl. You know, like let's just do it. You know,
Damon Wayans Jr.
Yeah, come on. Let's just keep that rolling, man. That we could totally do that, and then have hobby Spider-Man be played by Damon Wayans Jr.
I think you could have a Jewish Peter Parker. That'd be hilarious.
Oh well, they already have.
Yeah.
Ian just didn't tell us that he's doing the voice of Ben Reilly.
Here comes
secrets. Yeah, just because I'm wearing a Jewish deli shirt, like I mean, come on. But Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. You know what? Yeah, Kris, I want to start with you actually, because I mean, you might very well be the coldest on this out of the group, even though you did enjoy it. I know you.
I mean, I saw it with you. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm actually going to see it on Friday again with my mom, because we were supposed to go see it before Mother's Day, but because I was at the opera, you know, all that stuff. No, I thought it was a great movie. I was just kind of like, I feel like it could have been snipped here or there. There were like shots that I felt like went on too long. Some of the comedy with Adam Warlock, and I liked Adam Warlock. I thought Will Poulter did a great job, but I felt it could have been a little tighter. However, like that is all outweighed by the fact that, you know, as I told Ian, you know, this is why you're really asking me, is this is probably the most political superhero movie ever made. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure the nerds would be like, oh, this wasn't political. I'm like, dude, it is about animal testing. It is very clearly on the side of, this is bad. You are bad if you do animal testing. Like, it's not even subtle. And I
heard PETA say that this is like one of the best pro-animal movies they've ever seen.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Like, for once, I agree with PETA.
I know, right? First off, well, fuck PETA.
I guess I just don't think of that as being political, just because it's not in the main like fight right now.
Well, it is though.
Animal lives matter.
Yeah, it might not be like frontline politics, but it's definitely like still a political stance.
I think the meaning of what is political has really been distorted, because you know there's the fandom that'll say that like having a gay person is political, which is of course not.
It's not.
But this is a movie with an agenda. It is very clear about that agenda. So yes, it is political, even if we have a gazillion other things we're worried about right now. And I mean, I don't even think like animal testing isn't even what it used to be, but I just thought that was an interesting take. Like it wasn't just Rocket. It was also just having the presence of Cosmo in the movie.
Oh yeah,
because Cosmo is like a hat tip to Laika, the Kukurizvaya, little Barker, who tragically died. When the Russians shot her in the space. And no, he even said, like, somebody was asking James Gunn, like, why did you make Cosmo female? He was a male in the comics, and he's like, well, I want to honor Laika. And so yeah, he's wearing his advocacy on his sleeves here.
And remember, Cosmo is a very good dog, not a bad dog.
Raglan was a dick.
No, she's a bad dog.
No, don't you say that. Don't you say that. Don't you say that. Good dog. Good.
I love how the other characters at Nowhere, like when they're playing poker, they're on Cosmo's side. They just want Raglan to apologize because they're just so sick of it. Yeah.
Oh man, what a design! What a design for Nowhere. By the way, like we've seen Nowhere, like
I know we saw in the first one.
We did, but like seeing it fully fleshed out, like in sort of like Space Chinatown was the way that I felt like it had a real personality to it that was just fully developed this time.
Yeah, and though they didn't say celestial, the fact when Nowhere shows up at the planet where the High Evolutionary is, and he says like, don't you bring that dead god to me or whatever it was that he said. And I thought that was interesting. One, because he didn't say celestial. I was like, God damn it, say it. Like I'm being a fucking nerd at that point.
The word.
But I thought it was a good piece of dialogue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did anybody cry?
Yeah, I cried.
5 times. 4 times.
Yeah.
5 times.
I didn't cry, but I came the closest at the image of like young Rocket with his head shaved. I saw that. I was like, ooh.
No, I can tell you exactly where I cried. The first scene, Baby Rocket, being taken out of the cage. The first scene with Lila. The other scene, the third scene, the second scene with Lila, when they're on the floor laughing, and then he gets taken to go talk to High Evolutionary after he has his little breakdown. And of course, the third scene with Lila, when you realize what happens. I'm like,
everyone fucking dies.
Yeah.
That was like, because I literally thought, I thought that the scene where Lila and Rocket were hugging was going to be toward the end of him with him reuniting. Then when it happened, I'm like, oh shit, no, this can't end well at all.
Yep.
But
the way, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say the way I'm sorry, we're spoiling at this point. Anybody listening to this, the way he loses all his friends definitely lends more weight to losing the Guardians over because of the blip.
Yeah,
too. That's what like one of the things that really elevated this movie for me is that James Gunn is very good at taking these threads from other films and just making them more meaningful. Unlike a certain J.J. Abrams and Rise of Skywalker.
Well, and not to mention the fact that like he said on record, like they asked him, like, so when they did what they did with Gamora, were you taken aback by it? Were you taken by surprise? Like, well, I wasn't taken by surprise, but it wasn't necessarily what I was going to do with the character, but it actually really helped the story that I was going to tell. Yeah.
He did have to beg them to put in a kiss between Peter and Gamora, though, to establish that they were a couple.
Yes.
Because otherwise, nothing else would have worked.
Right.
He was going to kill her in 2, as I believe.
I never heard of that.
There was an earlier draft of Guardians 2 where she was going to die rather than Michael Walker's Yondu.
Oh, Yondu.
Yeah,
you can already see the internet machine working to suck up to James Gunn because of all those articles that came out about James Gunn didn't like what happened to the Guardians in the Avengers movies, or James Gunn saved the Avengers movie because you wrote down the lore of the Infinity Stones in 30 seconds. I just made up some bullshit.
Yeah, there has been like discourse
like, James Gunn, you're the best. Oh, I can't wait.
They've been like radically different outside their own movies. And I've never gotten that sense. I thought they were fine in Thor. I thought they were fine anymore. Like I thought that they seemed themselves. I thought that like James Gunn like co-wrote or like he wrote their scenes in Infinity
He
War.
did. He said he had input on all their dialogue, so I don't know what the fuck he's bringing this shit up for.
No. He had input on the dialogue. He didn't have input on the plot. That's the difference.
Or Peter
I'm
Quill,
sorry.
like
Guess
ruining
what,
everything.
dude? It's fucking comics. You think G. Willow Wilson is fucking happy they're killing Kamala Khan right now?
No, but she sure is writing a comic about it. But
Exactly.
We don't know how she feels.
As long as she's getting paid, you know,
if she's a living, breathing human woman, she's pissed off.
I'm sure she's pissed off, but I'm just saying.
But also, like, I mean, moving forward with it as well. Even talking about
it comes with the territory of a shared universe. Is my point.
Yeah, and shared universe as well. Like Thor: Love and Thunder with Thor being in the Guardians. That was another thing that both James Gunn and Taika Waititi said. Taika said that he was doing James Gunn a favor by saying goodbye to the Asgardians of the galaxy, essentially, and not having to shoehorn Thor into the whole mythos, which frankly he wasn't going to be in.
What the fuck? Why did they want to do that?
Yeah, I would have enjoyed a whole movie of that, honestly. Like if they wanted to have Thor be Thor and then have him rejoin the Guardians at the end of the Thor: Love and Thunder, just to fuck with James Gunn and be like, here you go, buddy. But I mean, come on, you like seriously, you don't think James Gunn could have had a good time with Thor and Chris Hemsworth in terms of like comedically? Like, I just feel like that would be cool too.
It'd be cool, but it was not the story they wanted to tell. Like he already had his 3 acts all ready to go.
Right, exactly.
And don't forget that happened after his firing, but before he got rehired also.
He probably had this structured before he got fired, right?
And what I have to mention it just because the what if has been going through my head ever since everything came down with him going over to DC, is that there is a world where where James Gunn did not get fired to begin with. And James Gunn is the new Kevin Feige for Marvel because
he kills him in his bed and assumes control. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Like horse head and everything. Groot's head in the
Instead of Bob Iger coming back, Kevin Feige gets promoted, and then James Gunn just follows into the Feige job. Is that what you're saying?
Could be. Certainly could be.
That actually would track because
he picked up Suicide Squad when he was no longer with Marvel for Guardians 3. So that started the DC relationship right there.
Yep.
And then he got the role before got back with Guardians 3 shortly after getting the role for Suicide Squad.
It is a hell of a journey.
Yes, that would track because that was I got out from movie TV side.
Yeah.
Around that same time also.
Exactly.
You got full control.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to hear the conspiracy theory that like this was his plan the entire time.
Oh God!
Like by this point in history, like with Guardians being well received and like him doing DC to acclaim, it's just like that. Like the Adam saying like this is how I win gift.
well, whatever. It's not what we got. Instead, we got the end of a trilogy and James Gunn moving on to other things in other universes. So
but speaking of nailing the landing, this movie fucking nailed the landing.
Oh hell yeah!
Dude, I was crying when they had that whole fake out of Star-Lord dying. I was like, that's just like his dad, God knew.
I
they got me with that one.
It's so stupid, but I love it. It's so sad.
I thought he was actually going to die. I'm like, okay, if they could kill him off, that would make sense, right? And
I honestly thought they were going to kill him off. When his face started to blow,
I'm like, all right, okay, maybe.
Yeah, I'm like, he's done.
That was
my amazing visual with the Atom finger.
That was awesome. That was so good. I'm among the people who was like, Adam's going to save him because they can't.
Another painting.
Like, let it go out with Adam being kind of a dick. Like they got to give the man just a little bit of redemption.
Yeah.
The finger was. Oh, that was so good.
That was awesome.
That was my second crying moment in the movie. First, it was with the rocket shit, and then it was with Star-Lord sacrificing himself, but it didn't turn out to be a sacrifice. I'm still shocked that Drax didn't die in this movie, considering that they've just said that Batista's not coming back, and any time, like he's done with the character.
Well, so I don't know who I was talking to. Maybe it was my friend, or maybe it was online. But like this movie is so heavy that like there wasn't really any, even though like Groot died in the first one, Yondu in the second one, but you didn't really need like a requisite character death. No. the way that they end going along in the sunset is great storytelling because you didn't need to
was
feel
practically dead the whole movie.
That's true.
What else do you want?
Chris Pratt erased all whispers of canceling him with his performance in that scene.
Oh God, like,
that was a career highlight for that guy. He crushed it. He killed that scene.
That's why Star-Lord will return. Chris Pratt still needs a career.
Can we also talk about Karen Gillan? Karen Gillan as Nebula.
So good.
Oh God, that scene when she finds out that Rocket's still alive, and you can see her break. I'm like, oh God, no.
Lesser writers would have not thought about that.
Her character arc through all of these movies is one of my favorite character arcs in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh, totally.
Like Nebula, nobody gave a shit about Nebula as a character before these movies. Come on.
And that's what I don't understand why James Gunn was complaining about the Avengers films and the Guardian stuff, because some of the best Nebula stuff came from
the scene
the
with
Infinity War Endgame arc.
When War Machine in Endgame, when she goes and gets the gem and like her hand gets all fried and she says, I wasn't always like this. And then Rhodey says, oh, we make do with what we have. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna cry. Like that broke me a little bit in the middle of that movie.
You know that new arm is totally based on Winter Soldier's arm. Like it may not be the arm, but he totally like.
Oh, that's why
didn't Rocket get that arm in one movie?
Rocket did arm for her.
He did.
He got him the other. Oh my God, yeah.
No, but her arm. I told Ian. I've seen the internet say it's probably Stark Tech, especially since it has like all those nano abilities, and that makes sense because her and Tony bonded while they were stuck on that ship for 3 months.
It reminded me of the Sentinels from Days of Future Past. It was like super nanotech.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's another.
We don't talk about the Sentinels.
We don't talk about the Fox universe, even though Deadpool is going to have another movie.
I read something today that was saying like the theory is Deadpool 3 is going to be the ultimatum of the Fox X-Men universe.
He personally kills everybody.
And I was like, I fucking love that idea.
That'd be awesome.
Deadpool kills the Marvel universe. Yes.
Deadpool kills the Fox universe. Bring in Ian Guafode and Jessica Alba and Chris Evans back as Johnny Storm.
And Chickless.
Deadpool kills them.
God,
that would be hilarious.
Could you imagine getting Yoan Gruffer back for like 5 seconds? Hey, Yoan, stay here. We're going to put a squib right here in your head. It hurt for a second. He was fine.
I will still defend Ewan Gruffudd as Mr. Fantastic. I think he was good.
Yoan was on the best part of
Johnny and Ben were the best cast characters. They were perfectly cast in those movies. Maybe Ewan Gruffudd could have done better, but he was not. I think he should have been written better at the very least.
What I think most people didn't see was the Horatio Hornblower series of TV films that Ewan Gruffudd starred in before those films that I watched, and my dad made me watch them, and I was like, I like this guy. And then he's like, I'm Mr. Fantastic, and I was like, fuck yeah. And I don't think a lot of people saw those, and they're like, who?
I'm sorry, you mean Mr. Miracle? Thank you very
much. Oh God. Yeah.
He was Mr. Miracle in JLA.
This is something for Donovan to look up. Horatio Hornblower. Just go look
No. I'm aware of that. I've not seen it, but I knew that he was that thing. But Guardians.
Speaking of casting, what do we think of High Evolutionary?
Oh my God, yes.
Okay.
Immediately one of the best villains they've ever done.
I pulled up the IMDb for this page so I could pronounce his name. He was in Peacemaker. He was phenomenal there. His name, I'm butchering it, just FYI. I don't know if this is correct. Chukwudi Iwuji.
I think that's right.
Actually, yes, close. Yeah.
That's fucking phenomenal. In Peacemaker, phenomenal here. I hope he gets a huge career off this. He's a phenomenal actor. Lots of charisma. Like in Peacemaker, he was more threatening than he was in High Evolutionary. Yeah. In High Evolutionary, he was more entertaining than he was in Peacemaker. Like, you were talking about Jonathan Majors like having a lot of range. This guy's got range. Hopefully, he's not an asshole. So.
I can actually say, because we did me and my friends did some work for HBO Max when they were promoting Peacemaker. I think I mentioned before that we actually read the scripts before the show came out, and we had some ideas for promotion. Like I actually had the actress who was in Orange is the New Black, who was in Peacemaker. I wrote a thing for her.
Danielle, I forget her last
you
name.
can see it on my Instagram. Woodgie, who did his bit, he was so game to promote Peacemaker, and like he had this funny thing where he was reading like silly Silver Age scenes from comic books, and he was like totally into it. So
Nice.
like at the very least, he's a fun guy. Like, he's a really fun loving guy.
He dressed up in character at Comic-Con.
Yes.
Promote this film.
Yep.
At Hall H. He
also
loves the character.
He also his character read for the High Evolutionary took place on the set of Peacemaker. So like he zoomed in and read for the character while he was getting ready to film a scene on Peacemaker. Like
right there.
It's one of those things where people say James Gunn only hires his friends. I was like, look what his friends are capable of.
Exactly. Yeah. Come on, and frankly, it's not even working with friends. It's working with a roster of actors when you've worked on tons of movies. Like it's. I don't have a problem with directors going back to the well and using people that worked well for them before. I don't
either. I never cared. But yeah, like Nolan,
Scorsese does it. Nolan does it.
Spielberg also. I mean, come on.
100%.
Adam Sandler does it.
Yeah.
Great directors all.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Adam Sandler actually a good director. I'm not gonna lie.
That was for you, Kris.
Great directors all.
The look of disgust.
Well, I was more thinking though. I really did like Uncut Gems, a movie I will never watch again in my life, and that's the Safdie brothers.
Uncut Gems,
Uncut Gems.
This is where I win.
As a Weekend fan, I enjoyed seeing him be the scumbag that he probably is in real life.
All right. Hold on. Counter Earth. Let's just focus on Counter Earth.
Spider-Man.
My thing was like, okay, Counter Earth in the comics, just to explain to people.
Yes.
That maybe only for Jim. Counter Earth apparently is counter on the Earth's orbit. So if Earth moves this way, Counter Earth moves this way.
Yes,
so you can never see it because it's always directly behind the sun from where we are.
That's
why it's called
makes no sense.
Counter Earth.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah. I'm
here in this movie. Counter Earth is just called Counter Earth because it's created by the High Evolutionary, but exists somewhere else in the fucking galaxy. Why don't you just call it Earth 2 at that point?
Well,
was it not? It's the same way that they did in Spider-Man Unlimited with the animal. It's the exact same thing.
Well, because the Animen were created by the High Evolutionary.
I didn't watch Spider-Man Unlimited.
They were the Animen were a creation of the High Evolutionary in the comics. So this whole putting animals on an Earth thing. It's been done before by the High Evolutionary, done very differently because the character of High Evolutionary is very different. We did a CGS review of it yesterday, and they weren't nearly as sold on the High Evolutionary. They thought he was a little bit too shouty in this movie.
The only High Evolutionary I ever read was in Uncanny Avengers, I think.
Mm-hmm.
With Remender. That's it.
But also, it's actual other event. Its only other really big event is not good.
Yeah,
it's not good at all.
Well, it's also where the heroes reborn, Bucky and her team of invaders wound up going to.
Yes.
After they escaped the Heroes Reborn universe. God.
Bucky Barnes, yeah. Okay.
God, how do I remember that? But. I'm sure that something very important in my life was replaced by that bit of information in my head. I just want to mention that. But yeah, no, it's such body horror elements going on with the animals in this, and the tragic backstory of Rocket. Really made me hate the motherfucker really, really easily. Because you mess with animals that way. Brent put a picture up of his new puppy just to make us feel even more sympathy towards animals in this episode. You really want us to hate this dude, and we sure as hell did. You know,
I mean, he blew up a planet like fly.
That killed me. Like, counter. It's not like I was really emotionally invested, but at least like we had enough characterization. Like when Peter decides to borrow the Bat Lady's car, and her husband just has like that shrug, like, oh God, like he's
open the fucking door.
That was great.
Yeah, no, that was all good, but then like it kind of killed me how the planet just gets destroyed, and it feels like there's no, I don't know, like emotion behind it. And I know like the High Evolutionary clearly does not give a crap, but
it's very clinical. It's very clinical.
Yeah, I just couldn't believe
I want to know if the High Evolutionary why the High Evolutionary thinks that 1970s Earth is the best time period of Earth.
Well, he clearly found a reel-to-reel player that had a whole bunch of 70s hits, and then brought it back to his planet and jammed out to some Creedence Clearwater Revival. Like, this shit is my jam, and
Earth, Wind, and Fire.
It was interesting that Peter Quill continues his destruction of planets, because like he says, what's so good about a planet where like animal people are selling mutts to each other, and High Evolutionary is like, you're right, pa-ching. Like that's how that went down.
But did you know something about the planet though?
What
was missing on the entire time of the planet?
Cities. It was all suburbs.
Well, that and also music as well.
Ooh, good point.
There was no music on the planet at all.
Mm-hmm. You're right. There was no Beastie Boys Sabotage as performed by goats. You're right. Like,
but you know what I mean? Like, there was no diegetic music. There was no actual soundtrack music either on the planet. It was ambient sound.
Yeah, very.
And
good.
that goes to the High Evolution's point of why humanity was what he tried to strive for, because they had
creativity
through music.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which is why he always played the minute waltz.
If you're trying to recreate humanity, then why are you using bats and blue jays and
because he doesn't want to recreate something that's already happened. He wants he's a software engineer,
wow.
Like that's the way that I describe it. Like he's looking for the perfect project, and he'll do anything to get it, which is also why he was so hell-bent on finding out how Rocket turned out so damn great, because he's the only one who turned out that way. And you got to repeat something in order for it to actually be successful.
Okay.
If you accidentally do something, then it's just a bug. And that's, he's basically trying to find out if Rocket is a bug or a success.
I get how you said the CGS guys thought he was too shouty, and I can see that observationally, but I feel that that's a bit too dismissive, just because like his convictions are so what they are, that he is a character. Mm-hmm. He is utterly detestable, but he is not like written just to stir up emotion. Like he's a living, breathing character, and as such, I think this is just a real success of like of I don't know, just like these people that exist in the MCU. Sometimes they're really one dimensional, and sometimes they are a guy that you. When was the last time you really enjoyed hating a character?
That's
and not
true.
like ironically or whatever.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's been a while. Because one thing I feel like the Marvel universe has been trying to do is make us sympathize with villains, and this was quite literally the first villain that I've come across in a while now where I could just straight up say "fuck you."
Yeah, there's been an accusation that like there's too many villains with a point. People point to Killmonger, people point to Namor, people even point to Thanos, and nobody really.
The God Butcher had this fucking daughter he had to save at the end, which is like,
and I can see both sides of that, where it's like, well, you want somebody to be a little fleshed out, but at the same time, it does feel like a bit of a rut. Where like, well, they're not the one-dimensional bad guy, because even like Malekith, I think, has felt betrayed or some shit, and it's like, okay, yeah, you can have a guy, you can have a guy played by an incredible black actor be somebody that you just want to see his face peeled off, and indeed it was rather gruesomely.
I think the thing with villains is that like we're gonna make the writing is like we're gonna make somebody a villain. And they're like, we need to flesh this guy out, so we need to give him a reason. And instead of giving him a more villainous reason or developing that reason in terms of writing, it's like, let's give him a sympathetic reason. And that's why you have like fucking Gord the God Butcher, like, oh, I have a daughter, save my daughter, Thor. Or
I feel that this is akin to like Loki from Avengers, where like Loki was straight up the villain. He wasn't one-dimensional, but he was pretty single-minded.
Yeah,
like
he didn't mind disliking him.
Sometimes you're just an asshole, and that's what it is.
Oh yeah, but also the difference between Loki and here with the High Evolutionary is that Loki, he's charismatic, and he's actually
sexy, baby.
He's charismatic. He's charming. Like,
he also has people he actually cares about, because
Yes.
as much as he screws around with Thor and Odin, he does care about them, and he definitely loves his mother. He loves Freya.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, when we get to him in Avengers, they'd already established, Loki and Thor, and you saw that although he's an asshole, he's an asshole for a reason, and we saw that reason. High Evolutionary is an asshole because he can't get his toys to work right. And
he's like that one collector who you all know who just, I can't get them in the right position. And he just destroys his entire set.
He's the guy who I used to see at Midtown Comics who would go through every single issue on the stands looking for the one issue in each comic that was coming out that week that was 100% perfect. And if it had even the slightest deviation in it, he'd put it in.
Tell me you're kidding.
I'm going to find a 9.8 in the stack.
Didn't they eventually throw that guy out, Raph? I feel like Raph told us they actually had to call the cops at some point.
No, they straight up banned him because he wouldn't leave. He was disrupting everybody, and he was touching all the comics. So
it was creepy.
Did they beat him up outside?
Yeah, I have no idea what they did. It's just I know he was definitely banned for life for a while there.
Donovan, this is an old story. I'm surprised you have not heard of it.
Yeah.
but no, going back to it, I mean, all the stuff with the Elijah stuff. Anybody else get a We 3 vibe?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit. It's not my favorite Grant Morrison story, but yeah, all the weird, that was the thing that was like all the weird animal stuff. Like the animal cruelty stuff was bad, but I think what I was saying on my YouTube review is that this is not for kids. It's all that fucking weird animal We 3 shit. The little bunny with the jaws that never actually opened. I was waiting for the moment where that little bunny's jaws fucking opened up and teared somebody apart.
That was kind of
foolish.
I think that's
the walrus that's just on wheels that's just like this the whole time. And the creepiest thing about that bunny is you didn't realize until later is that it's got spider legs and it's just got little dangly arms all the way around there, just wiggling around with the physics model or whatever. And it's it's
also, Brent,
nightmare fuel.
PK, to make it worse, I don't think the bunny had an actual mouth. That's why I had the little thing over top of it.
No, but it had the little teeth thing like the guy from James Bond.
I think that's just engraved into it. I don't think she actually had a mouth. I think her mouth was actually clamped shut.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nightmare fuel, like I said.
The only thing we needed, and I found an image of the Nightmare Fuel bunny, so I'm just going to go ahead and bring that up right here. There, boom, nice and Nightmare Fuel for you guys. But I love that one of them was named Floor. We just needed somebody named Lamp, and then we could be like, "Are you sure you love Lamp?" And then they'd be like, "Yes." And then you
got to go to the CGI test that James Gunn posted on Twitter of these things. It's so creepy.
Yeah,
to see the full 3D runarounds of that big walrus, and he's literally on his wheels, and he's just he's almost gonna do a flip with his whole big ass body.
Oh my god!
The wheels didn't bother me as much as the fact that the eyes are pried open.
Yeah,
I was like,
even Lila losing her arm. I'm like, oh god, that's so fucked up.
Yeah, and then do you realize that the otter's arms have been cut off, and that's why it's got robot arms and stuff?
Yeah. They're full, and they were fully they were fully motion captured. They were actually lying on the floor there, doing all their lines, and then they motion captured in the performances.
Oh, Judy Greer is supposed to be the otter, right? That's what you were saying?
No. Judy Greer was
She's Lila.
No, Linda Cardellini is Lila.
Yeah, Judy Greer was Aisha.
Yeah,
Adam's mom.
Judy, Judy Greer was I think.
Oh no, that was sorry. No. Elizabeth Debicki was Aisha. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say
Judy Greer was in a full bodysuit in the heist sequence.
The ball sack sequence.
Yeah, it's the ball sack sequence. Yeah. Yep.
So TMI. Probably.
Oh no, God, no.
Oh my!
The week this had Gunn come out, I had Gunn under the knife for the same thing, for the ball sack sequence.
Oh,
The whole time I'm recovering, and Amanda's like, "This looks like the Balzac." She was sitting in the room while the doctor was operating.
Oh my God.
I mean, to be fair, you're not wrong, actually.
And she wasn't wrong. She was not wrong.
Man, but that everything in that though, like Nathan Fillion in the suit, like all the weird ass backgrounds, those
urine fountain.
Oh, the urine fountain, the full like the.
I didn't realize it was a urine fountain.
The body suits, the multicolored body suits that they were in going in there, the interaction between Drax and Mantis.
Mantis was hilarious in this movie.
Mantis was so good.
She was so much better than the butt monkey from the second one, which genuinely disturbed me. She was absolutely hilarious. She was nearly my favorite character in this.
She stopped being the butt of the joke and actually started being like the impetus of the joke. And
that comes from the Christmas special. You got to watch that Christmas special.
I love when she and Drax rock up because Nebula's like, "Where are you guys?" And she turns around. Man, it's like that. Drax.
Yeah, but I would say that Nebula did have a point when she yelled at Mantis. Is like, you just let him do whatever he wants. I'm like, yeah, she does let him do whatever he wants, and then like pretends it's all his fault, which is why I think her ending, like, I'm gonna go find myself, like, because she is kind of defined by the people around her, and I love Mantis. I liked Mantis even before the movies. Like, I liked her in the comics because she was just fucking weird, man.
So weird. Wait, do you like plant mantis or regular mantis?
Wait.
You like plant mantis or regular mantis?
I mean, I like regular mantis, like, in the 70s Avengers, Celestial Madonna stuff, which was freaking creepy. But like reading the rest of the stuff, it was great.
And
Celestial Madonna.
And bringing it back to Drax for a minute, his character arc in this, like going back to the fact that he's a parent, like that finally really, really hit home in this. Way more than it has in the previous movies.
Well, they haven't ignored his daughter in a while.
Yeah, I feel that like his character was virtually retconned because his gag in the first one that he was like hyper literal and like he took everything too seriously, and then by the second one, which was like 90% of everyone's dialogue was like and like I feel that like they reference his backstory in this one, but he was the one that has changed like by far and away the most throughout the entire history of his appearances. And I guess that not forgetting where he came from serves the character and not pretending that he was always like a dumbass.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. There were way more layers to the person than we knew when we first met Drax. Same case with just about everybody.
That scene where like he's like, "Do you think I'm dumb?" And she goes, "Of course not." And he's like, "Forget." I'm like, You have to realize that she's done that more than one time on him, and like I'm thinking
possibly
how many times has she done that? Where it's like first off automatic, just forget to him, right? And like it's just like that kind of it's really dark actually a little bit. Think about it.
That reminds me of Miss Marvel from Young Justice cartoon, and I just revealed that she was messing around with people's minds, and Superboy called her on, so she tried to make him forget, and he was like, "We are broken up."
Yeah, God, season 2, yeah.
Yeah. Hello, Megan. Anyway,
McGann.
Yeah.
Pardon me, it's McGann.
Would excuse me, sir. But let's talk about Gamora a little bit.
I was going to say, Gamora was the one person that was the character arc I was the most dissatisfied with. I guess because I don't know if I wanted to see her get back with Quinn.
I did.
But what I didn't put together from Endgame to this film was, I guess, how much time or what she had gone through to get her to the point in Guardians 1. Because this felt like she was the same Gamora at the end of Endgame, a.k.a. total bitch Gamora, as opposed to somebody who's a little bit more evolved that we saw. Like, I don't know how far away from where Endgame plays with those time past characters and Guardians 1 took place. Because Guardians 1, she was a lot more like receptive to that stuff a little bit. You know what I mean?
Well, what I think it proves is just how much, whether it was a couple months or whether it was a year or whatever, it just proves how important the experiences that you have, no matter how trivial, can be in changing the person that you are. You know, that like experiences that you go through in life shape you as a human being. If those experiences turn out differently, you will turn out differently. And this was a Gamora that, you know, before running into Star Wars, before meeting the Guardians of the Galaxy, before winding up in that jail, before she even makes the decision to finally turn on her father, which is a very important decision that she had made clearly before even winding up in that prison in the first Guardians movie. She hadn't gotten there yet. And that immaturity shows, you know, she just, the important milestone she hadn't hit yet. And that led to a very different Gamora. And I think that it also proves too that when you take away those experiences and you know, have the person grow in a different way, they could very, very well turn out very, very differently. And
you also have to realize she lost 9 years.
Yes.
Because this is 2014 Gamora got transported to 2023.
Yes.
So like that can actually F you up in different ways, because, you know, it's not just that, oh, your dad's a dick and now he's dead, or, you know, the world, but like the world is completely different. I thought it was really kind of touching that, like, at the end when she goes back to the Reavers, Ravagers, stupid R name. But I was like, she definitely was happy, and I like that the movie made it clear, and it's like, no, this is a different Gamora, and like, you know, this is the life she's built after, again, losing 9 years.
Yeah.
I like the fact that because before the Guardians movies came out, my idea of Gamora, without reading much comics, was that she was the Elektra of like the cosmic books. Like I think I said before that like she was like one of the deadliest female characters in Marvel, and she was such like a den mother archetype throughout the Guardians movies that like I like this quite a bit, where she was just more dangerous, and like she kind of gives the High Evolution like the final attack. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the way that she like guts them and like looks them in the eyes like she's John Wick. I was like, that's exactly what I had in my head what this character would be for a while. And I thought that Zoe Saldana effortlessly portrayed that. It doesn't look like she was struggling being like a far harsher badass.
Yeah, like I like because it very much like, yeah, this is like how Nebula was before she left Thanos. She was an asshole, a complete asshole.
Yeah,
and so like, yeah, it makes sense that this Nebula would fall in with the Ravagers and not the Guardians.
Gamora.
I'm sorry, this Gamora would fall in with the Ravagers and not the Guardians, who are a little bit more harder edge, a little bit more piratey for the most part.
And nice to see, you know, Stallone again and Michael Rosenbaum and all those other characters that were teased in Guardians 2, at least getting at least a little bit of screen time here in Guardians 3. So that was fun.
And not Miley Cyrus.
Yes.
Who was Miley Cyrus in the last one?
It was the robot head in the last one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was the giant floating robot head in.
This was this time it was Tiffany Smith, right?
I believe so. Yep.
Tiffany Smith, really? Okay.
Yeah. Overall, it hit all the boxes for me. It was an awesome experience. It was a great way to start off the summer movie season, and I think the next movie I care this much about is Indiana Jones. Actually, I mean, other than Spider-Verse, because that's a whole other bag. Like that, I just like.
See, I'm excited for Spider-Verse because I thought that first movie was gonna be bad for whatever reason, and it totally turned me around on it. And I was like, wow, this movie's incredible by the first 15 minutes. So I'm more excited for Spider-Verse 2. Indiana Jones, I don't think I saw the last trailer. So I've watched Crystal Skull recently, and I'm not excited for Indy 5.
Well. It's James Mangold. That's all you
Plus the de-aging and stuff. Like,
it'll be fine.
It actually looks good. It actually looks really good.
Oh, for the record, just for anybody listening and for you guys, all of the indie movies are going to be on Disney Plus at the end of the month, along with Young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Is Ryan Gosling in there actually?
Boondock Saints.
No, Sean Patrick Flannery.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, those are good.
Sorry, Brandon. Just one thing that I forgot to mention that we should add that I meant to ask you guys about. What did you guys think about the soundtrack to this one? What did you think about the soundtrack to Guardians 3?
Great.
Oh, good.
Gotta love that Space Hog drop on the Balzac.
Okay. Beastie Boys, No Sleep Till Brooklyn. That Can we talk about that scene real quick?
Yeah.
Of like.
No, I want to talk about Space Hog. That's one of my favorite songs of all time. And now everybody's going to remember it because I'm going to go the Balzac song.
Yeah, I know.
You and that goddamn Balzac.
Well, I mean, it's kind of important to him. But
so just one quick story. We were shopping for pet toys for the new pup the other day, last night, and we were in PetSmart, and there's a sack of little tennis balls about that big, and Noah goes, "Hey," my son Noah goes, "Hey, it's a Balzac." And just for the next 30 minutes, just keeps repeating Balzac, Balzac, because me and Amanda just started laughing so much.
Well, you can get him a book. You can get him a book written by Balzac.
That's true. You could do that. Mm-hmm.
We told him like, okay, Balzac is no longer an appropriate word, and if you say it again, we're gonna take away toys, because we're just like, you cannot. I don't want you going to school at VBK and being like Balzac, Balzac.
Yes, we're calling you to inform you that your child will not stop saying the word Balzac.
You didn't laugh about this, did you?
He's saying his favorite author, Balzac. Thank you, guys.
He's already gotten girls kissing him in VPK now. Like, I don't need him saying Balzac.
Oh, God, he's a little Jew. He's a little Jew.
No, he's not. I was not that cool in VPK. I was not that cool.
VPK?
He's going to be in kindergarten in the fall, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
He's 5.
Brandon, Beastie Boys.
That scene is quite possibly one of my favorite scenes.
Oh, yeah.
In the movie in a long-ass time.
Pretty
like, the first off, it's hard to do a tracking shot.
Mm-hmm.
It's even harder to do a tracking shot when half the people are not real.
Oh, my God, yes.
And then he does things that Zack Snyder only wishes he could dream of. He ramps up and ramps down the camera, and it looks so good. And it's only on one plane, and it just, oh my God.
That was one of the things I noticed too. Like, the previews had just the human characters, and then when you saw the film and you have all the other digital characters of the aliens and shit, it just made it way more impressive. Like, wow.
I've only seen one scene where it's a digital character, and it was Rocket going down Groot's arm in the trailers. I've seen it before, and I'm like. Oh,
well, like all the bad guys, I meant, in the trailers were all just the humans, the real characters. The digital shit was not in there.
I also wasn't expecting Groot to be a mostly practical effect this time around.
It looks really good, doesn't it?
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, there was guy in suit for a decent amount of that. Like, I mean, yeah, they would add CGI on top of that, but there was, if you look in the credits, like, there's a guy listed as Groot. And I'm pretty sure that at least a whole bunch of it was, motion capture of a guy, walking around in at least a partial Groot suit, and then they would CGI the rest. At least I could be wrong about that, but it sure as hell looked practical to me. So
Holly Special was practical also, so I'm guessing it looked good there. So why not just keep it in the movie?
Exactly. Yeah.
So like the scene where Groot pops out the wings also. Like, oh God. Or like him and Kaiju Groot, or him and Rocket. him and Quill in the Evolutionary's office, just going fucking ham. Like, there is so much style in this movie that is like so good. I'm like, oh.
Kaiju Groot was kind of like the Stanley original appearance, right?
Yeah.
Toward the end, yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Hey, I feel like
the
movie, with Groot, the movie also did a good job of justifying the design of new adult Groot Jr. Mm-hmm. Because when everybody saw the holiday special, it was like, why is Groot so swole? What the hell happened? And like, you see him use that bulk in so many ways. You're like, oh, that makes sense. Like, because he probably has to do a lot more physical, fighting and labor, and also because he hides shit inside himself. Like, it all makes sense with the way the Guardians operate, as opposed to when he was just when Groot Senior was with Rocket.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's so good about this movie is that, like, it really felt like the Guardians of the Galaxy, like almost like an X-Men unit team, especially with that fight sequence where, like, there was just a lot less. Yeah, there was bickering, but there was a lot less of it. Like, they felt a lot more competent. Like, Star-Lord actually operated like a legit leader of the team, and like, I really got this is it. So they feel completely whole. They really feel they're on the top of their game.
And those uniforms, man. Oh,
I know, I love it
so hard.
The only thing it missed was the mask.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, apparently Star-Lord like forgot it when Rocket was injured. That's like the explanation.
Sounds like a Spider-Man excuse to me. Now the mask always gets ripped up.
I'm still mad about the Marvels and like Kamala derping around without her. The simplest, string mask that the character actually has.
Don't get me started about how Kamala's awesome costume and put her in that piece of shit Marvels one.
I don't dislike it, to be honest with you. I actually kind of dig it. I think it's an evolution.
Like I liked how big the lightning bolt S was, and they're like, let's move it up and make it smaller. Like, no, that's the whole point.
We'll see how it looks come execution as well, because we know that sometimes costumes change from preview trailer to actual movie.
Yeah, because Tom Holland never wears the fucking costume; he just wears a gray Balzac suit.
You had to say Balzac again.
He's got a quota.
Oh my god! I swear to God.
Hey, Raph is not here to be the annoying one, so I have to,
Anyway, the email
fill in a little bit.
Well, I mean, and the conclusion, Star-Lord going back to Earth and meeting his grandfather and refusing to pick up the leaves and what have you. Like it wasn't even him. It was like the neighbor's kid. I had to look it up because I was very confused by the scene. I was like, are they just literally just bullshitting about their neighborhood?
I would have loved to have the neighbor's dad been Monk. Tony Shalhoub.
Oh my god, that would have been great. And I also really like the Guardians mid credits scene with the new group being led by Rocket, Phyla being in the mix as well. Getting Phyla Vel in there one form or another.
I didn't get that she was Phyla Vel until I read it on CBR or something like that.
I knew it almost immediately when
they call her Phyla.
Exactly.
They do?
Yeah.
I didn't know who that was until I got home.
I didn't read the book, so it beats me.
I'm a Genis fan, and Genis and Phyla are brother and sister. Enough said. So
Did they have the same lines in the books, or is that just a movie thing?
That's just a movie thing, yeah. Because she may not be a Kree in the movie. In fact, I highly doubt.
She's what's it called? That race that he created, who can do like calculations like that.
Yes, yeah. So that's a bit of a different origin than what she has in the comics. But then again, it's the movies, so I don't really care. But it looks like there's at least a next generation of Guardians available.
Just wait until they kill her to make her the same as the movies, man.
Oh God, stop!
Actually, no, Phyla's still around. Genis is dead.
Yeah, no, Genis is back now. Actually.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they brought him back.
Yeah, Genis is back. He got better again for like the third time.
Y'all can keep this cosmic shit straight. It's so complicated.
I know. So overall, I think this was a pretty awesome movie. I gave it 4.25 stars out of 5 on CBS, and I'm sticking with that.
I give it 2.
Out of what?
2.
Oh, okay.
I in terms of personal love and fandom, I don't think anything the MCU does is going to beat Spider-Man No Way Home for me personally. But I do think that this is like arguably the best movie they've done in a long time.
Definitely.
Right up there. I think Wakanda Forever is like really good and underrated, but this is like right up there at the top. I think it's better than Doctor Strange, which I enjoyed, and everything else they've had in Phase 4 and 5. I think this easily clears.
I think
it's up there with No Way Home for me on best movies and Endgame, no question about it.
Yeah, like Shang-Chi, No Way Home, and this are like miles better than anything else they've done.
Yeah, there's only 2 movies since Endgame I'm going to rewatch, and the first one was No Way Home, and the second one is this one.
Eternals?
No.
So I've not seen Eternals.
I would rewatch. Wow. I have rewatched Eternals actually. Now that I think about it,
I'm just saying this is the only one I'm interested in rewatching. I haven't rewatched Doctor Strange. Anything else since Endgame other than Spider-Man, I have not rewatched.
I think I'm going to rewatch
seeing it in the theaters.
I think I'm going to rewatch Wakanda Forever soon. Actually,
I watched it. I watched it at work.
Okay,
still holds up. But like, I think Eternals is one of those movies where like you have to know going in A that it's long, and B it's not like other movies.
Eternals for me is one of those movies I just put on in the background.
It does feel like homework.
Which is not how a movie should be watched.
I love the fact that every time a Marvel movie comes out, there's always that guy pointing out like it's been 7 Marvel films since the Eternal comes out of the earth and nobody mentioned it.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Yeah, he's not wrong. No, it's still there.
It looks like the end of Evangelion, that shot.
But let's think of how long there was a Celestial in Golden Gate Park in the comics, and they barely ever mentioned that. So that's
a Neil Gaiman and a X-Men thing. The only one that picked up on it.
Yeah, exactly. When the X-Men were in Golden Gate Park in San Francisco,
Mike Choi era.
Yep.
It was honestly really funny because it was like people were playing in the park underneath this standing Celestial. I thought that was pretty great. Somebody was saying you don't really want to know what's going on with the Celestial in like the current, MCU because somebody's probably building condos on it already.
Yeah.
Anyway,
movies also.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's been 14 movies since someone bought since someone bought Stark Tower. Who bought Stark Tower?
Very
Stark Tower.
Exactly. Who bought Stark Tower? We all know it was Reed Richards. Anyway, any other thoughts on the movie or anything before we wrap this sucker up? I think we're good. Yeah, awesome. I mean, good to catch up with you folks. We'll have to do this again sometime.
I just want to say, if we're going to bring it back to comic books, go pick up Titans #1 by Tom Taylor and Nicholas Scott. Fantastic.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Go read Joshua Williams' Superman run.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Very
4
good.
issues are out. Fantastic. Jamal Campbell on art. Fantastic.
Best panel I've ever seen in my entire life. In issue 1.
I got to read the first issue of the new Jonathan Kent series also because I know it's multiversal.
Good.
Mark Waid Shazam with Dan Mora.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Need I say more?
Dan Mora.
First issue of Shazam with Mora and Wade was so good and easily the best Shazam I've read in I can't even tell you how long. Like he nails the character in 22 pages better than I feel like anybody since the 90s has.
It's Mark Waid. Did you ever doubt him?
No, I do not. I very much do not, sir. Which is why I still believe in Hypertime. Hypertime is real, damn it.
World's Finest is still my favorite comic every month.
Yeah.
That's a comic book.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
God. What am I reading?
I really want the blue and gray black suit for the James Gunn Batman film, wherever the fuck it is.
I think
World's Finest.
I think they're actually leaning towards that. Actually,
Yeah, if you look at
The Flash movie makes it look like it's blue and gray.
I don't think it is though. I've seen toys of that, and it looks black and gray.
No, there's the one he has
In the film, though, it looks blue and gray.
But
I think the toys mess it up.
There is a blue and gray suit in the lineup that he has.
Keaton has it. Keaton has like a superpowers Jose Luis Garcia Lopez.
No. I'm talking about like the Batfleck version,
right?
In that
Flash
that one,
preview
is blue and gray, and it looks amazing.
Yeah,
really?
With the base jumping gear all over the body of his suit. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, and by the way, also before I forget, let me grab off the shelf something that I finally gave in and bought a copy of. One moment.
That iconic painting.
Supergirl.
I was gonna say, Brandon, we were supposed to fight about Supergirl this episode.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I did it.
I'm proud of you.
I gave in.
Can I get 5 minutes to smack Brent down real quick, please?
Gorgeous, beautiful.
Such a good book.
Such a good book.
Such a beautiful book.
I completely See, I didn't have that back in the day.
But yours has more. Yours has more extras. Yours has the original pages.
Yeah, exactly.
Mine does not.
Mine has the original pages from the 80s edition that they were only a little bit into making before they decided that Marvel and DC didn't want to play nice anymore. And it's got extras. It's a pretty decent page quality. Like just like kind of
glossies.
At that, yeah. It's not really glossy actually. It's more, and that's fine by me because I feel like a matte would work a lot better as pages for this. But I had to own it. I didn't care if I was going to pay a stupid eBay price for it. I needed it in my collection one way or the other, and I knew that this probably was not going to be reprinted anytime.
Which is a fucking shame.
I know. Avengers is an amazing book.
This book should always
do I need to eBay this shit? If I've got this,
only if you want to. I mean, I have. I mean, the copy that I bought went for about $100.
That's not terrible, actually.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. The prices have been so up and down, like depending on the day of the week, basically, because there's people still trying to flip it off. But the original, again, I've seen as high as 300. I've seen as low as like 120. So
I could sell this for 300. Is that what you're saying?
Possibly.
Could potentially, yes, but why would you want to?
Yeah, man, I thought you were making that big bank down there in the simulation industry.
I work for the government. There's no big bank involved.
That is my understanding.
It's a big bank in theory. But
my wife makes the big bank. She's a business owner. There
you go. But yeah, that's been my big purchase over the past couple of months, man. Otherwise, it's just been all digital. So.
Can I just have 5 minutes to smack Brent down real quick?
Go ahead.
Okay. First off, how dare you, sir? How fucking dare you besmirch one of the greatest Supergirl stories I've ever read in my entire life.
We're talking about Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, which I bought and read for the first time and was like, this is a terrible Supergirl story because she's barely in it, and it's more about this girl on the bottom. And
oh god, it's so
I didn't enjoy it.
It's all Kara. It's
not.
Yes, it is. From start to finish, it's all about Kara and why she's so stronger than Clark.
Okay, you see this name on here?
You sweet summer king. You sweet summer child. You just
50-50 on this is on the 50 side of fail, just like his Batman run, unlike Mr. Miracle and unlike Vision.
Okay.
What about Adam Strange?
Adam Strange had me until issue 11 when they.
I saw your video.
Ruined the book.
Right.
It's all Kara. Kara may not be the impetus, and like in most stories where the protagonist is in it, they're not always the impetus.
Yeah,
she is still taking action, and she still has her own agency.
Hey, I've only read it once. Okay, that's. I read it once. I did a review. I said my thoughts. Wasn't a huge fan. I love the art. The art is fantastic. Bilquis Evely. Sorry. Phenomenal art. Beautiful. Love it. Just was not in love with the story.
No, well.
Honestly, I would say go back and read it again.
I'm used to it, Brent, and Brent doesn't like good things. So I'm used to it.
I'm not that. I'm saying give it a second chance, right? A second. I'm not trying to be like an asshole either. Like give it a second read.
Yeah.
Honestly, and go in with it with the expectations that you already had. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then go in and try to see where you got that conclusion from.
Like Superman is not my guy. My Superman shelf is this big. Like that's as far as it goes.
Mm-hmm.
My Batman shelf is 2 shelves, like 1 and 2 all the way across.
No, great. There's a lot of sobering stuff in there that is fucking weird. Like the Wonder Horse becoming, because there's like Comet has like 4 different origins, and it's super weird. And the one they do is the one they pull right out of their ass. But yeah, like honestly, I book is. I told you last year it was my book of the year. So
I've only read the first issue and I really enjoyed it. I need to go back and read the rest of it. I am glad to see that they're making a movie out of it. I think the adaptation of that could be really awesome. It's just first there have to be people to write that, and right now writers. Anyway,
support the WGA.
Yes, support the WGA. We support the WGA. A fair wage. Period. Enough said. Kris, anything you've been reading that you want to bring up before we wrap up?
Well, I haven't been reading that many comics lately, but because I'm in this, I guess, like a casual role-playing group at Wonderville, which is this arcade here in Brooklyn, and they do they're trying to do like more indie RPGs instead of D&D, and somebody suggested that we play the Die RPG, which got me thinking like, I never finished the comic. I think I'd like to reread the whole thing. So I got it all from the library, despite owning the original issues, because they're somewhere in the forbidden closet that I will never open again.
Forbidden closet.
Ian has seen the forbidden closet. It's forbidden for a reason. So I reread all of Die, and I really think people who haven't heard of it should definitely check it out. And people who like bounced off of it might want to give it a second look because it was very different for me on a second reading. And I think that's because I've been getting more into role playing and reading a lot of books about the history of role playing. And it's, if you liked Unwritten, this is basically Unwritten, but more for games as opposed to literature.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I read the first half of Unwritten on Comixology Unlimited.
Unwritten's good stuff. I
love Unwritten.
I'm a huge fan of that. Outside of the Fables arc, which was weird, but that's its own thing. That's
Blue Beetle Graduation Day. Great miniseries. Another great Blue Beetle story.
Okay.
New writers, new team, new art. Like everybody they've never touched Blue Beetle before. It's not Giffen, it's not Rogers, it's not Jurgens.
Yeah.
Totally new team. I want to say they're like Latinx or Latino heritage or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, great
Latinx.
series. Sorry.
I could go on a 5-minute rant about that. It's Latinx.
Don't do it here. But it's a phenomenal series. Don't miss it. The trade comes out in August. All 6 single issues are out. I read every single one. It was phenomenal. New interesting stories, ties back to the Reach, kind of riffs off the Green Lantern mythos a little bit with different colored beetles, even though Jurgens and Johns introduced the Black Beetle character. So it's like riffing on all these existing things. A whole lot of fun. I really, really love this book.
I have it ready to eventually be read on DC Infinite because I'm a part of the Ultra, so that's only a month behind the new stands at this point. So I think they have the entire miniseries on there now, if I remember correctly. If not, then 5 out of the 6, I think.
Yeah, the 6th one will be out fairly soon. I think it just came out 2 weeks ago or something.
And Nightwing continues to be the best damn comic in all of comics. Like, my God.
Hey, good. Tom, I told you all about Tom Taylor when he was writing Injustice back here.
I agree.
And look what he's doing now. Titans and what else is right? Nightwing. Did he touch Superboy? John Kent, Superboy.
John Kent.
Phenomenal. Bringing back the Injustice universe. That Clayton Henry art is killer, dude.
Love it. All right, it's getting late, and I got to get up for work in the morning, so we are going to wrap this sucker up. Dono, where can we find you?
Y'all can find me on dccomics.com. I got 2 new articles within the last few days. I have 6 essential stories on Damian Wayne. Now that he'll be in the next Batman movie that's not starring Robert Pattinson, and just missing Mother's Day, I have an article on why Lady Shiva and Cassandra Cain are the best mother and daughter rivalry in comics.
Nice.
Also check out my homegrown podcasts with my buddy and co-host Harrison Shute. Questions we don't have answers on qnowwebsters.com. And those are my. And also I review the Nightwing book monthly on the BatmanUniverse.net.
Nice. Kris, where can they find your stuff?
Despite everything that's going on, I'm still on Twitter because I'm enjoying watching it sink. Flaming with it spewing out of it. It is just like I'm just on the deck with like popcorn. I know I will hopefully jump off. I will ask you, Ian, to put in the show notes. I do have a link tree that has all my different links. But if I were to ask people to look for anything from me, just go to itch.io. And, that's where I've been putting like role-playing games and like some mini like video games I've been working on during my my midlife crisis sabbatical, whatever you want to call this.
Nice. Brandon, you are muted. And now you are not muted.
That was double muted. Actually, I had my microphone muted and that muted. You can find me on Twitter at the Davidon. Also, kind of watching Twitter just slowly implode. You can also find me on twitch.tv/the Davidon also, where I stream occasionally, mostly D&D stuff. And May has another podcast with Baron coming out soon if we never line up our schedules.
Nice.
Pop Culture Clash that is on all major podcast platforms.
Indeed. And hey, it's back. And hey, it still exists. How about them apples?
I know, right? Yeah.
And Brent?
YouTube.com, BK's Bullets. You can see the same beautiful background here, just a little bit taller because I'm standing. Reviewing books. You can hear me hate on Superman, Supergirl. What is this called?
Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. You fuck.
Yeah. I've literally had like a quarter of a bottle of bourbon this whole episode.
We could retitle the show Brent versus Tom King.
Brent versus Tom King, cursing every other word. That's absolutely what we're going to call this episode. I
gave Stranger Adventures a good review up until the very end. So
got to put a warning on this episode because of you, fucker. Thanks.
Hey guys, guess what? We're not getting monetized this one.
Yeah, hell no. All right. Well, anywho, you can email address comictiming@gmail.com. Facebook.com/comictiming is our Facebook address. You can also correspond with us over at the Comic Geek Speak supergroup, and we thank Comic Geek Speak for also running this episode over at comicgeekspeak.com. Thank you so much for that. I would say we're the proud members of Comics Podcast Network, but I think it's dead, so I'm just not going to bother. Twitter.com/I_am_sci-fi. That's also where you can find me on Instagram and all that fun stuff. And also YouTube. Just search Comic Timing and you'll find us on there. And also youtube.com/comicgeekspeak. So for Casina, for Kris, for Donovan, and for Brandon, I'm being Leatherstein, reminding everybody out there that there's always time for comics.
Can you tell I really love this mug?
I can
really we're drinking gender fluid.
Yes, it's amazing.